Welcome back, Red Spotters! Let's show the Red Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Alexis J. Soto, joined by, who else would it be? It is certainly not Kyle. Where the hell has he been? This is Peter Martinez.
Taking care of the youths.
Yeah, taking care of the youths. In what way, I don't know. Or maybe they're taking care of him. Who knows?
Well, you know what? Probably.
Hey, you know what? In all seriousness, because he does do teaching, I've been exposed a little limited experience with that. This week, especially, I've been in the company of some elementary students, and I do not know how Kyle does that every day. I cannot even begin to tell you the exchanges I've had this week where I've wanted to just explode. I don't even.
One of those substitutes.
I don't mean explode at people. I just mean explode,
like physically combust.
Yes,
just like
because of just the. Well, I guess you coined this, right? Here on the show, the tomfoolery of it all.
The tomfoolery
that happens.
Yeah, there's a reason why I never wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
I love kids, but like that it's that setting where it's like, I am a teacher, I have to take care of 30 of you. Maybe 3 of you want to be here. Some of you are just delinquents and would like stab me if you had the chance. Like, yeah. And I can't do shit because like you're a teacher, right? The most you can do is like, please, like just say please.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation.
Right. I just think I already felt this way beforehand, and I always gave such praise to Bernie Sanders for being the only candidate to say that teachers should at least make $60,000 a year. Funny how that was so underreported like everything else. But now more than ever, being, I guess, in the wings of it all, yeah, teachers don't get paid enough because especially for those younger kids, like at best they're teaching a couple of them. And they are, but also they're a full-time babysitter of 30.
Yes. You have to make sure they're alive at the end of the day. You know how hard that is?
I'm getting the picture now. It's not easy.
And the only thing worse than kids in that situation is their parents. Holy shit.
God, that's a whole other thing. I just read that a special education teacher was fired in Florida because one parent accused her of teaching critical race theory, which is non-existent, obviously. But
did she have the audacity to tell the kid that black people exist, or what?
Apparently, because it's being outlawed, but we can't.
It's being outlawed in America. You can't tell them that minorities exist or that they had it tough in this country.
Yeah, otherwise,
because that'll hurt their feelings.
Yeah,
they're turning schools into safe spaces for them.
Yeah, I thought it was the liberals that had that coined the idea of safe spaces. Oh well, they hijack everything else. Anyway, this is a movie podcast. This is Red Spotlight.
Let's talk about movies.
I'm Alexis. This is Peter. We're here to talk about a lot of different things going on in the world of movies and more, right? So we got 3 reviews, one of which happens to be a film by Neon. It should have been nominated for some Academy Awards, I feel, and well, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it stars Nicolas Cage, one of the biggest actors of all time, called Pig, which you can currently stream at Hulu. And then we're also discussing actually it worked out this way, the season finales of the Book of Boba Fett as well as Peacemaker. So interestingly how those kind of like were happening at the exact same time. They began almost at the same time, and then they ended almost roughly at the same time.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, and then other news as well, like the Academy Awards, I guess, have some hosts, a new category of sorts, and then a bunch of trailers that happened over the Super Bowl. All of that and more here on Red Spotlight number 375. Before we start, I do believe you, Mr. Martinez, as well as Ms. Moreno, Mr. Francisco, and Mr. Lira have taken part in a new series here on our network. Was it
only one episode?
Only one episode so far, but I did listen to it. What was the name of it again? Was it Off the Page or Turn the Page or
Turn to Page.
Turn to Page, gotcha.
I think.
And
I don't really know.
It is a Harry Potter podcast for the Harry Potter enthusiasts, or the Potterheads, as they're called. And so
For the elder millennial in you.
It seems that way. I don't recall my name being brought up as to why I wasn't there, but clearly I wasn't there for obvious reasons, which is I no interest in Harry Potter whatsoever. I enjoyed the movies, but that's all I was. I didn't love any of them.
You were one of the elderly folks at the time, trying to ban the movie because it taught witchcraft to kids, right?
Right. Yeah, sure. That's exactly what I was doing. No, but there's a lot of stuff that clearly all of you have a deep connection in history with it. And it was just really entertaining to hear all of your thoughts to open up the show. And can't wait to hear more. And you can catch all that here on our Red Spotlight Network or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So the Fantasy Fair at the moment is on hiatus for several reasons, one of which happens to be that podcast is running and Moreno and Lira are devoting their time to being on that one. The other being Kyle seems to want to avoid at all costs the Encanto review, which is hilarious because that film came out in theaters, 3 months ago now? And we still haven't gotten an Encanto review?
That Encanto review broke him. Or not the review, but like the film, because now there's an entire Encanto subculture. Like it really took off. Like people love this shit. Speaking
of kids, every single day this week, not just at the same school, at various different places and various different classes, it at least once, off in the distance, I do hear one pod of kids humming along to one of the songs or talking about who's your favorite character from Encanto. Even today, in the last, I think, 30 minutes of class, we were watching a portion of the movie itself. Like, this shit is everywhere. It is a behemoth. I mean, as they should, right? But of course, it's just it's a phenomenon we haven't seen before, and it really does show you, I guess, just the value of streaming and the power of streaming these days now. Because it's hard to believe that these people actually watched it when it was in theaters, because I don't think they did. They're actually watching it on Disney Plus.
Probably not. No.
It's incredible how it's taken off.
It's interesting. I do think so far, anyway, with Disney Plus, it's a good filter for what's actually quality. Because I feel like the quality films will take off,
right?
Whereas the not so quality films,
you mean on Disney Plus?
Yes.
Okay, yes. That's clear. Well, you are aware, of course, that Frozen 2 is one of the most popular movies on that service, right?
It's riding the coattails of Frozen.
You sure about that? If it were okay, let me ask you. If it was riding the
no one talks about Frozen 2.
No one.
A lot of people watch it.
No one you know.
Well, you know children, right? Like,
right.
How many of them
No one
are
right
like...
now is watching or talking about Frozen 2. All I'm saying to you is, according to the Nielsen numbers, Frozen 2 was far more popular than Frozen in streaming last year. That's all I'm saying.
Are you telling me the most recent film that came out was more popular than like the almost decade-old film?
That works. Sure.
Yeah, no shit. Like, okay. I don't think... I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to say. I don't think it messes up what I said.
Well, I wasn't suggesting it was. I was just putting that out there as far as the record was concerned. I think the film was far more popular than I think maybe you take it seriously for. But
I know.
I'm only putting that out there because you say it was a filter for quality. Speaking of which, did you see those numbers about Eternals today? Yes. See how it did? It was pretty interesting, right? 22 million hours, I believe it said there, in the first 5 or 7 days, as it were. We talked about this, I think, last month, that it was, at least the first week, Nielsen reported that it was the biggest debut for a Marvel film on the service. The asterisk, of course, there being...
it's the lowest performing new Marvel film in a long time.
The lowest performing, well, as far as box office is concerned.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes. So it's the second lowest grossing all over the world. Black Widow beat it by a couple. And I think there was a couple of, Black Widow had to compete with a Disney Plus component through Premier Access, which also is why it didn't have very high streaming numbers initially at the beginning. Although Black Widow ended up being a moderate success on streaming after it became free, included with Disney Plus. Shang-Chi was dropped on the service. I believe it was November 12th. Remember that Shang-Chi grossed somewhere around $430 50 million worldwide, opening in September, but it did debut in November. Curious, of course, and I don't know what we can attribute this out of. Maybe it was just pure curiosity. Maybe it was the time of the year that Eternals ended up having a bigger debut than Shang-Chi, which is weird because I don't know what happened there. Maybe people legitimately just skipped the film because of reviews in theaters and decided to just view it at home.
It's probably, again, time in Corona, people are insanely selective. That's why everyone just skipped every film that came out last year.
Every movie. Every
movie, and just went to go see Spider-Man. They're like, because one, they're like, I love Spider-Man. Reviews are insanely good. Getting that Toby goodness. Like, yeah, okay, I'll risk it for that. But everything else, no. Like, you got to be up here.
You know what was hilarious about that, though, is like they literally picked the worst possible time of the year to risk watching a movie in theaters, because that was when Omicron was really taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
How do I tell you?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm curious to see what if anything that manifests itself. But of course, we shouldn't forget. So yeah, Eternals was doing very well on Disney Plus. Encanto, obviously. We shouldn't, of course, forget the recent animated films from Pixar and Disney Animation. Both Luca and Raya did amazing on that streaming service, particularly Luca last year, as we talked about. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Disney
Luca
Plus
did. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Luca, Disney Plus is interesting, right? And I'm wondering how the other streaming services are even competing on the same level that, you know, Disney Plus is catering to, you know? Because like Disney Plus has so many catalog and franchise films, and a lot of the newer ones, and it's getting so much attention. And clearly that we just mentioned several titles: Luca, Raya, Eternals, and what was it, Encanto. And remember, we're just coming off of 2021, where Warner Brothers decided to put their entire film slate also on HBO Max, and not a single one I felt made a dent, at least culturally speaking.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
Well, the thing is with the Disney Plus, right? You got the back catalog, right? All Marvel, all Star Wars, all the Disney films ever. So it's like, if you got kids, you're always going to have it for that. You can throw on any random Disney movie ever made, kids film. It's like you're good for the next couple hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just had to click at a button. And then also that Disney blockbusters are the only ones people give a shit about nowadays. So if they're coming out pretty soon on Disney Plus after they come out, because like most people aren't like you and me, where it's like, oh, a new movie's coming out, like we're there opening night, you know, we don't even care that much about the film, but it's like, well, obviously we're gonna be there open night, like what else are we gonna do? Most people aren't like that. They're like, oh man, I'm really excited to see that new movie, maybe I'll check it out a couple weeks after it comes out, or like something like that. Like, I think that's how most normal people are. So if instead it's like, oh yeah, if I just have Disney Plus in about a month it's there, like, yeah, I can wait a month, I don't give a shit. That, you know, that'll work for most people. I think it's a big draw. And again, like you saw with Encanto, like, just, you got kids, you want to see a new movie, you don't give a fuck about waiting a month, boom, there, perfect.
Yeah,
no extra charge. So yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see how certain things perform when they debut on the service. And I'm wondering if and when they're actually going to expand and really like stretch the G-ratedness of Disney Plus. I know they have Hulu right now, but at some point there is speculation as to when that service is going to be retired, which is a shame because personally I love Hulu. Hulu is a wonderful streaming service. It has great. The live TV component. It has so many great classic shows from different networks, right?
It's great if you love shows.
Oh, God.
A lot of like classic TV.
If you're a fan of sitcoms like I am, I'm living on Hulu. I Love Lucy, Golden Girls, Frasier, Cheers. So many wonderful shows that are on there.
Is Malcolm? I think Malcolm in the Middle is on there, isn't it?
I think it is now. It wasn't before, but now it is.
Okay.
Need to watch that. It's such a good show. It's on there right now, and they also have the benefit of having a lot of really great movies for whatever reason. If you go on Hulu, there's a lot of wonderful prestige and popular movies on there, and
they'll just pop up.
Yeah,
like, just like, oh fuck, like the movie I saw today. I'm going to talk about. I saw it on Hulu.
Right, Pig is on there.
Yes,
right. Spencer is on there right now. Flea, Academy nominated stuff right now, as well as like Logan and Deadpool are there for sure. But my question was, or at least what I'm wondering right now is, at what point are we going to see Bob Chapek, the head of the Disney company, pull that plug and actually, put all the Marvel stuff home, and then maybe, because internationally, if you have Disney Plus, you have that Star window, which if you have the Star, you put in a pin, and all of the stuff that's on Hulu that belongs to Disney, because there is no Hulu internationally. They have Disney Plus, they have that Star window.
So they get way more bang for their buck.
Oh, they get a lot more. Like The Last Duel is on there, Nightmare Alley is on there, like on Disney Plus. French Dispatch, like they get all that stuff already included with their Disney Plus. So I think that argument you just made is yeah, they get a lot more bang for their buck. Whereas here in America, as usual, they nickel and dime you all the way home, right? With 2 streaming services. And the reason why I bring this up, and I'll just go ahead and we'll start off with this news right now, since we'll use it as a segue, right? The Netflix stuff was making a lot of headlines this week. And honestly, something that, if you were to tell me that at one point, like the Netflix shows, the Defenders Marvel Netflix shows, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and all that, if you were to tell me one day they would be at Disney Plus, okay, maybe that wouldn't be that far, out of reach. But basically this year or next year, like, okay, we were operating under the idea that these characters, Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox, and as we saw with Hawkeye, Wilson Fisk by Vincent D'Onofrio, we were already starting to see these characters come back, and so we were talking about for months now that Daredevil would come back for a season 4, or at least a new rebooted version of it. So and that would be for Disney Plus. And we knew we were going to see these characters come back, for the most part, at some point on the service or in different other shows, if not their own show. But I don't think you and I ever took seriously the idea that the shows that Netflix themselves co-produced for their own streaming service, that debuted on their own streaming service, would be taken away from them.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of these movies have like years long contracts, right? And a lot of us, unless you go and look it up, you don't know, right?
Right.
So that's why there's a lot of movies and stuff that's maybe not specifically with Disney, that's like in other places. Like right now, I think the Harry Potter films are on fucking Peacock.
That's hilarious.
And it's like, why, right?
Yeah.
Warner Brothers has its own streaming service.
Right.
And it's like, because they probably had some fucking deal with the movies that's like,
they're called licensing deals, right?
Yeah.
So that's how right now, as we mentioned, and then last week, Nightmare Alley is on Hulu and HBO Max. That's why it's on both of those streaming services, because before Fox was eventually killed by the mouse, Fox made a deal with HBO for their films to debut on there first. And so that's what happens.
And the thing is, what's going to be interesting is, I think for a while, we're still going to get stuff like that, because those deals were made a while ago, and they go for many, many years. But like all new stuff, they're not going to have those deals, right?
No.
Like any new Warner Brothers film is not going to do a licensing deal.
Because why would you do that?
No.
You keep it in-house for your own service.
Yes. So like eventually we're going to get to the point where everything, no more sharing, basically. Like we all have our own streaming service, and it's ours.
You mentioned, by the way, about how Disney really has the monopoly. Well, they have the monopoly everywhere, but particularly with kids content. This week was a massive shift in strategy for the Paramount Plus streaming service. Their parent company, CBS Viacom, renamed themselves into Paramount completely. They're rebranding all under the name Paramount, and they announced like so many new projects geared toward children because they have Nickelodeon, right? So they're going to use a lot of new Nickelodeon content on Paramount Plus to really push for that audience, as well as like every brand they have, everything from Star Trek I heard to more Transformers series. I mean, you see
it's taking them a while to get that new Transformers movie out.
Yeah, but they also announced that there were 2 more on the way, and this here and that there.
They can announce whatever they fucking want.
Of course. It's all for show, but it goes, I feel, to show you how much more seriously they're kind of like following the Disney approach, which is like now every studio is going to prioritize their streaming service ahead of the theatrical window. Which I think we were already seeing that happen these last 2 years anyway. So now it's like one of the new permanent additions to the pandemic. But back to this whole Netflix thing. I wasn't aware of that licensing deal. My understanding was Netflix didn't outright own the Marvel character Daredevil. Of course not.
They own those shows.
I thought they owned those shows because they paid for those shows. And they had their whole name on it and everything. Yes, like... People don't know this, but of course that was under the Marvel Entertainment umbrella. Jeff Loeb has his name on it. So does ABC Studios has their name on it. So it was a co-production. It wasn't a whole like Netflix thing, obviously. But I just didn't think that Netflix would ever let those things go, because those were shows that were at one point, remember when Daredevil like first premiered on Netflix? That was like they were still in their infancy of like debuting original series. That was a big hit.
It's a big deal for Netflix.
It was at the time. It was huge. So it's just incredible to think that now, if you're not aware of course, we're talking about here, starting on March 1st, all of the Defenders series, from Daredevil to Punisher to Iron Fist, are going to be taken off Netflix. And for the foreseeable future, they will not be available on streaming. I wonder, though... I'm wondering what you think. How long we'll wait until Disney announces they'll be available to stream again? Now, it's interesting because you feel like it's a no-brainer. These shows are going to go straight to Disney Plus because why not? Like, you want to put all the Marvel stuff together. There were quite a number of people I saw online that felt that it was kind of an open question whether or not they'd go to Disney Plus or Hulu, which I'm not so sure about. One other aspect of this, which is interesting to me, and I wonder, that's not going to happen, but this person was trolling, obviously, because it was also announced that S.H.I.E.L.D., which is currently streaming on Netflix, would be taken off at the exact same time.
Who?
Yeah, right. I don't know who the writer was, but they were saying, like, you can almost tell that they were writing this with like an evil grin on them. They were saying like how basically they were, to paraphrase, how much of a slap in the face would it be if Disney put all of the Defender shows on Disney Plus, but put S.H.I.E.L.D. on Hulu?
That would be so funny.
A massive slap in the face. That's not going to happen. But
no, I think S.H.I.E.L.D. is going directly to Disney Plus.
Yeah,
because it's already on Disney Plus in other areas.
Everywhere else in the world, it's on Disney
Plus. Yeah, like this idea that they'll put it on Disney Plus everywhere else except here. Like that's weird. Like, it's so stupid. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
To me, that's not even an interesting conversation. Like it's so obvious it's gonna go on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
My question is, where did they put the Defenders?
Yes.
Right? Like, does that go to Hulu? Because I know, and you know this too, recently they've been wanting to get into darker shows.
They say they've been wanting to. They
say, you know.
And they also say Moon Knight, which we'll discuss in a bit, is their first, I guess they're dipping their toes into that territory.
Because he punches hard? Okay.
I don't know.
There won't be a drop of blood. There's a lot of blood in Defenders. and sex. Yeah.
There's a lot of blood in S.H.I.E.L.D., quite frankly. Not as much as the Daredevil stuff.
There's an abortion scene in Jessica Jones.
I thought you were gonna. I'm sorry. I don't know why when you said abortion, my mind went to Eternals.
Well, that movie's about abortion. It's about aborting God. Yeah.
Where is the abortion scene? Is that season 1 of Jessica Jones?
Yeah, season 1.
I need to rewatch that.
Because remember, the purple man like raped a girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then she takes the abortion pill. Like it's a whole fucking thing. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't think they can just drop the offenders. The offenders. But I mean, that's what they're gonna do.
Man, that Frank Castle shit though. Like everything Frank Castle's involved with.
I don't think they can just drop the Defenders on Disney Plus. Like they can't. You can't just click. It's like, ooh, look, there's a superhero. Like, no, you can't do that. So my question is, they're either gonna go two things. They're either gonna pussy out and drop them on Hulu, which again is difficult for them because they're pulling those characters into the MCU. If Daredevil wasn't in the MCU, this specific character of Daredevil, I would say like, well, it's a lot easier to just throw him on Hulu.
But now
you might want to have those on Disney Plus because it'll get people into it. So either they put them on Hulu, or they create a big ol' parental. They finally do it, and they do their darker parental advisory shit with Disney Plus, where it's like, once you go to the section, you have to click on like, this section is not suitable for kids. Are you sure? And then maybe you press yes, or there is like a pin, or maybe you can set up a pin, so something like that, right? So either they do that and then they throw the Defenders on there, or they're a little too risk averse, and I understand why. I mean, it's fucking working for them so far, being Disney, and they just throw them on Hulu. So that to me, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for sure, I think is going to. But that to me is I'm interested to see what
there is. A third option here. I don't know how likely or serious it is, but
sell them to Apple. What?
No, they've done this before. They did it with The Simpsons. They could just edit them and censor a lot of that. I don't know how you do that, but that's a possibility. They've done that before.
I don't like that.
No, because where else would you find those original versions now if they're going to go ahead and censor them?
See, this is why. This is something I don't think we've talked about it recently, but it's just true. Physical media, if you want to keep stories alive, is necessary.
I want to go on eBay right now and check those the sales for those Blu-rays for those Netflix shows.
$199.99. Some insane shit. They were fucking expensive when they first came out. The only one because I haven't seen it yet, but I know when I see it, I'll probably want to get it, is season 3. And oh god,
I haven't
probably like.
Oh wait, I should probably see that. I haven't seen it yet.
I still haven't either. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so fucking great," and I'm like, "You're probably right," but I just haven't seen.
And now,
I don't know what it is.
And now there's a deadline to see it.
Yeah. Oh fuck, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Might want to get on that then.
Yeah.
Need to fit some time.
What's
in
the deadline?
It's March 1st.
Fuck.
Yeah. I don't. I wouldn't put it past Disney to censor them. I really wouldn't. And I mean, we've talked about how they were going to parcel the fact that they're going to blaze forward with a new Daredevil show, but it not being to the standard of violence, shall we say, that the original had, and how they realistically felt that people would react to that. I don't know. I will say for the record, what one thing S.H.I.E.L.D. does have is you do see Disney darling Dove Cameron get her throat slit. That's
so awesome. I don't hate her. I just know Moreno loves her. I just thought that was funny.
I really honestly would have loved to have seen her face when she saw that episode, because I know she would see the Dove Cameron scenes, because she said she did.
When is she gonna be in Euphoria?
Oh boy, let's.
Can we talk about Euphoria for a second?
I rather not. I personally feel like that's. I haven't seen it. I get so annoyed the way people talk about it. But what is it you want to say about Euphoria?
I know very little about it. It looks beautifully made, and I'm sure it's a good show.
Mm-hmm.
But like everything I hear about it just makes me go like, I don't want that. Like it's all about, oh my gosh, she's cheating with her boyfriend's best friend, and this other girl's on drugs. Like, oh my gosh. And it's like, okay.
I mean,
like,
it just sounds like 13 Reasons
seems...
Why times 2.
And maybe it's like 13 Reasons Why, but actually well done.
Okay.
But even well done, it's like...
It's still the same thing.
I don't know if I care, right? Like, oh, she's cheating on her with her boyfriend. But they're on the cheer team together, and they're besties. And I'm like... I don't know, man. I'm not... maybe I'm not the demographic, because I look at it and visually I'm like, oh, this looks like it's well done. Like, I kind of want to see it.
Absolutely.
But then, I don't know, I hear what the story's about, and it's like, they do drugs and have sex. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
So that's the boomer in me.
No,
he should be in school.
I feel like I've, on Twitter, in my account, I feel like I did mute Euphoria. Like, any mention of the word, because I'm just... No, I'm
too old and boring.
Yeah, just no, thank you. But if you like it, if you're listening, and you like it, yeah. And Alexis,
I'm not knocking it. It's just like
Alexis
a
and Kyle, exactly. And I think Kyle and Alexis have said that they like the show, but they've also said, like in the very next sentence, it's such a hard thing to see, and a fucked up thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like I think I saw. A tweet by I think he's a pop star, Charlie Puth. He watches the show, and he said that the last episode wanted to make him throw up. And I'm like,
oh god,
that doesn't sound fun. And I know last week we went on a tangent that's saying that not all art like needs to be feel good and everything.
It's a personal thing.
Yeah,
it's like, what's that show?
I was gonna say Don't Look Up. Like, we don't want to watch that.
Oh, for sure. But there's another one, and this, you know, if Euphoria's for the youths, this other film I think is for an older audience. What's the one? The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, the Hulu show? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a good show, but it's just kind of about women getting raped, and like, I don't know, like, I'm just, I don't know if I just
wouldn't you rather watch I Love Lucy?
I don't know if I want to watch hour after hour of like, yeah, look at this evil society where women are taken advantage of and raped for an hour. Yeah. Come back next week where we continue to watch that. And, you know, of course, maybe there's like Uprising. I don't fucking know. But it's just like, I'd rather not. Again, it's not, I'm sure it's a great show, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I'll watch Bob's Burger. It's not that I can't watch depressing shit. It's just,
of course,
everyone has their different shit.
No, I agree with you. Last thing on the Marvel stuff, I think it's likelier that they actually do put it on Disney Plus. Maybe they'll actually pull the trigger and do it after, you know, they'll extend it to a new like a parental window on Disney Plus. Do you think we're gonna get that announcement soon? And whenever that actually happens, are you expecting the Defender stuff and S.H.I.E.L.D. to all drop at the same time, or would they just stretch that out and make it like several different like drops on Disney Plus?
No, they probably drop it all at once.
That's a lot of episodes. Let me see here. Yeah, man, Euphoria. That's the thing. So we were talking about Hulu. Hulu is getting something pretty big. This is, I think, a pretty remarkable and hilarious story. And full disclosure, this is actually one of my favorite shows ever made. Futurama's coming back, guys.
It's really one of your favorite shows ever made?
It really is, yeah. Absolutely.
I love it so much.
I love that show. I've always loved that show. Some of my fondest memories is watching it in the original The original run before it was canceled before it was canceled on Fox. I would always watch on Adult Swim.
I caught it on Comedy Central.
Did you?
When they brought it back.
Damn. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is one of those areas where I beat you, at least.
Yes.
I'm one of, I guess, I would maybe not the OGs, but I think closer to the OGs. I did watch that original run and all the reruns on Adult Swim. And then it was brought back by Comedy Central in 2008 for 2.5 seasons or so. That's after... See, this is where it gets weird because this show has been revived so many times. First, the original run was on Fox for, I believe, the first 3 or 4 seasons, something like 60 or 70 some episodes. And then, of course, the Fox television network, if you're not aware of, is known for canceling so many great shows of that particular decade. They canceled so much.
Yeah.
Like Firefly was canceled. Thankfully, Malcolm in the Middle averted being done dirty by that Fox, but a lot of great shows on that network. It was brought back in the form of 4 direct-to-DVD films originally.
And you know what's crazy about that is they then took those films, cut them up into episodes, and they kind of like functioned as seasons, right? This is where I'm telling you the line between movie and TVs can blur sometime because I didn't know that there were movies. I saw those.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I saw them for the first time on Comedy Central, and they were episodes. And I just thought like, oh wow, these later seasons have very direct through lines, right? Like they're telling one whole story, one arc throughout the whole season. And it's so weird because I in my mind I was never like, oh, it's a movie cut up. Like it genuinely felt like an episode.
Really interesting.
Yes.
I don't think I ever saw them in episode form. I think I saw all of those as the films. I believe at that point we still had something called video rental stores. And so when they were on the market, I did rent all of those Futurama DVDs. So I did see them as movies, or as at least as one continuous story in a media of movie, not so much TV. That's interesting. The Dragon Ball anime actually did something similar. No, they did the exact same thing a few years later in 2014-15 when they brought the series back, the sequel series, they call it Dragon Ball Super. The first 2 arcs of the series were basically the revival films split off. Like they cut them across into like episodes. Like it's just interesting how they're able to do that. Certain franchises.
Yeah.
We'll just cut them up into episodes.
Yeah. It worked for me. I never questioned it.
That's interesting. So that was before the new actual episodes debuted on Comedy. I remember being there when Comedy Central brought back that show and that first new episode. It was so exciting to see that show back.
And you know what it was? They would show Futurama constantly on Comedy Central.
They
constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think because it did so well on there, that's when they're like, let's just fucking revive it, right?
It did,
and then, because I think that's what happened. Like I started watching it specifically, like the movie episodes, because they would play those a lot,
right?
On Comedy Central, and then because I remember them announcing it was revived, and I was like, oh, I didn't know it was dead. Okay, we'll do episodes, cool. So I remember all that, yeah.
Yeah, and it had a healthy run. I think for 2 or 3 years, and it was nice to have that show back. And honestly, you may say that they had the benefit of like taking a couple of years off, even though it wasn't by choice, clearly. But like it for those that are unaware, it is made by the same people who still write for The Simpsons, who created and still write for The Simpsons. And we all know The Simpsons, now in its 32nd season, has...
It's finally hitting its stride.
Well, we all know what the story is with The Simpsons, right? It's been on the air continuously for over 30 years now. Whereas Futurama, a show that debuted in 1999... I believe it was 2013, right? 2013, where it aired its 2nd or 3rd series finale.
That's what this is such a weird, because like I don't know how to feel about it being revived, because it's been ended so many times.
So
right?
3 times now. 3 times.
And I mean, each ending has worked.
It has.
But then they keep bringing it back.
That last episode, I think the title of it was Meanwhile, focused entirely on Fry and Lila. That was a beautiful way to close the series.
Yeah, it worked. I was like, this is the last episode, cool. And it ran for like, altogether, if you include everything that we said, I think it's like 9 seasons.
Yeah, I think around there. Yeah,
If you cut up the movies and do all that stuff,
right?
Which isn't bad at all.
That's a tremendous run. Not bad at all.
It's a really good run, right? So it's like, I don't know how I feel about the revival. I mean,
I didn't need it.
Yeah,
I don't need it, but at the same time, it is kind of fun to think about. Oh, okay.
It just won't die.
it'll just never go away. It'll be like Curb. It'll take a couple of years off, and then it'll just come back until the people die from that show.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, right? Because that's what's happening with Curb now too.
Yeah, some of them are dying off.
To me, it's. I guess what you can say, like Curb, quality has remained consistent.
It has, yes,
miraculously with that show.
Futurama always had a lot of great things going for it. I always just loved, I think the concept of a 20th century man just like frozen in time for 1,000 years and waking up and seeing this future and all of these different planets and worlds. And look, I love universes, right? The Futurama universe is one that's always fascinated me. It really has.
I think they really take advantage of the setting.
Oh yeah.
There's always such weird, fun stuff with it. And again, I think this was the movie season, but like it's when they were getting rid of like a small galaxy to make way for a galactic golfing course.
Yeah.
Like you hit it into a black hole and then it shoots out the other side. Like just this huge thing. And that galaxy actually turned out to be an egg for 2 competing species that are older than any other species ever. And they would just go back and forth and they would evolve. And one of them evolved into literally a fucking galaxy egg and it would come out. I think it was like a big manta ray.
Yeah.
And the other was like a little worm.
Yeah.
A little. And I don't like all that's it's interesting, right? Yeah. I really do think they take advantage of all that stuff.
Absolutely. I think Futurama did the multiverse thing first. There was a whole multiverse episode, if you recall.
Yeah.
Where there's a whole multiverse inside one box. That runs in parallel with their particular verse. No, man, there were some classic episodes of some of my favorite all-time episodes of television. Futurama, and I can't wait to see it back. And they're already, I think they're recording right now their lines. It's already written. It's already happening. Like it's happening right now.
There's some controversy though.
I know. DiMaggio's not coming back.
Come on, like that's another thing that's making me hesitant too. Like you can't. And I
believe he's not coming back because they're not paying him what he feels he's owed. Which, I mean, voice acting is a tough gig. It shouldn't be. It should be paid tremendously. But like a lot of parts of the the movie industry, there are a lot of the great people that put in so much of the backbone of the work throughout Hollywood. They get treated like dirt. Like VFX artists, the sound people, and now voice acting, of course. And yeah, it sucks, man. Especially since it's Disney money now. They shouldn't be squabbling over like this. Like, pay him his fucking money. And while you're at it, raise your wages all across your fucking company, especially your theme park employees.
Yeah, I mean, none of that's gonna happen.
No.
But the fact that I'm seriously just kind of like, the fact that he's not returning is almost enough for me to go like, I may not even watch this, or I'm just not excited about it at all. To me, tells me he deserves that money, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because he's Bender. He's Bender.
he's kind of the face of the operation. Like, let's be real. You know, bite my shiny metal ass. Like, it's him. It's all him. So, yeah, if I don't know, pay the man. I don't know what to tell you. And then I think he also explicitly said, like, it's not just about me. You know, I want everyone to get paid more.
Right.
And maybe that's the real stickler.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's what it is, right? Like, because they're more than happy to pay their star a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just take it from everyone else.
I have a feeling
underpay everyone.
Maybe it's just me choosing to seek hope in something, but I think it'll be resolved at some point with him coming back. In the meantime, there will be, I'm sure, episodes where it won't be him. I don't know. For me, like at this point, I've just become used to, with animated properties especially, new voice actors taking over. And it's an adjustment period. I know for me, and I spoke to this when we were talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it was an adjustment period, at least for me. Was it Greg Baldwin who took over for Mako as Uncle Iroh?
Yeah.
Originally. That was originally, right? Like all these years later, I recognized that I was overly harsh on it because Greg Baldwin does an amazing job taking over for the role.
The first time that I watched it, I did not know. And I did not notice.
I did, but that was me.
Yeah. Well, I think it also helps that in season 3, he does not speak
hardly
for
anything
for most of the season. Right?
Yeah. I wonder if I don't think. I have to imagine that season 3 was already written to be that way before he passed away, right?
Yeah, I would assume. Well, maybe
unless it was written around. I don't know.
Maybe they're like, shit, like maybe he passed away and they're like, okay, let's start removing some of his lines until we figure out what to do. I don't know. I have no idea. But I mean, either way, it worked out.
He still played a pretty big role. In the background,
sure.
That's for sure. Especially with that episode with Sozin, the Sozin the Comet, with Sozin and Fire, Sozin and what's the other guy?
The White Lotus?
No, the Fire Lord Sozin and the Avatar Roku and their friendship.
Yeah.
That episode especially. One time it really affected me, and I know this is one of those things you never got into yourself, but a lot of us that were watching Pokemon in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a big controversy. I wasn't even aware to the extent of it. But after the first 8 seasons, the animation house for kids, all of the entire voice acting staff was let go because the Pokemon company did not want to work with them any longer, and so they ended up hiring their own voice actors. It was very controversial. These people were basically just like let go, and unfortunately, a lot of the hate was put on the new voice actors for not sounding exactly as the old ones did. And it did hurt the series. I'm sure a lot of people fell off at that point because of just that drastic change in voice acting.
Is Pokemon still going?
Honestly, and I checked up on this the other day because I wasn't sure. It fucking is still going. The anime itself, I know that they're still releasing Pokemon games. That's never going to go away,
yeah.
But the series itself is still going.
Like with Ash and everything?
Yes, with Ash, Team Rocket, they're there.
Because for me at this point, right, like when you first watch it, he's a kid. He's like, yeah. I just want to be the best, and I'm on my journey to be the best Pokemon trainer ever. Yeah. At this point, right, like, what has happened? Like, either he's still doing that same shtick, which at this point I would rather blow my brains out than keep watching them do the same fucking thing every week.
Yeah.
Or he's already accomplished his goal, and it's just like...
At this point, they've had over 20 seasons. I don't remember what the actual count of it was. I didn't stop watching the series, like, full stop. Season 13?
Oh my God.
That was a long-ass time ago. Remember, I used to be one of those people that like would watch it all the way through, but it got to a point where like, okay, I think I'm good. Let's move on to something.
You know
else.
me, I like good, concise,
I know.
wrapped in a bow endings. So something like Pokemon just seems like a chore to me. Like,
you can pick your endings. Like I picked my ending with the Sinnoh region. That was around season 13, but then you realize at that point, oh, this show's never gonna end. Okay,
he's just gonna keep wandering through nameless forests. And,
so to answer, it's still going, and new episodes are dropping on Netflix actually in America.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Anime's crazy, man.
It is. I mean, One Piece is still going, and that
has over 1,000 episodes.
That's insane. That's just a daunting thing to get into.
How can you? To me, it's like pushing the point of like, how is this pleasurable?
We need to get our resident anime expert in on this. Is Julio available to talk right now? We need to get him to answer these questions because he watches.
If we bring him on, he'll start selling us cryptos. I don't know.
Oh God, or stocks, or something.
Stonks.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, to the whole Futurama thing. What I was happy about the news is that it was trending all day, and it really showed how popular the show still is. And you can see why Disney made this call to bring it back. Like, oh shit, like we made the right call here. This shit's really popular.
I mean, I can't give them too much credit because their entire formula now is
is their whole formula.
What do we own? How do we do a reboot sequel?
I agree with you. It's not a good overall trend. However, when I compare this to literally any other announcement that comes from Disney, it's still $1 million.
So this is going to be on Hulu, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I guess tells me Hulu is not going to go away as soon as we think it may.
No. Because again, I think they don't know. They want to make adult content.
Yeah.
Because adult content does sell.
Mm-hmm. They
don't know where to put it. They got Hulu, so it's working for them so far, and I think they're just going to keep doing that. Which is also really funny to me because I remember Simpsons used to be considered adult content.
I would still think it is, and yet
I remember as a kid, right? Like, of course, around the time I was a kid, South Park came around, and then that just blew everything out of the water. Then it's like fucking killed South Park, right? When it comes to monitoring your kids and what they watch. But I remember before that, it was like, I don't know if your kids should be watching The Simpsons.
About South Park, and we were just talking earlier, with Paramount Plus's rebranding and their new strategy. Mm-hmm. And this really, like, I guess, like, cable TV really, I guess now are even worse maybe than what movie theaters feel like, because it was announced that new episodes of South Park would now be dropping or premiering on Paramount Plus and then would air on Comedy Central.
Damn.
They took South Park away from them. Like,
that's pretty fucked up to Comedy Central.
At what point do they take away SpongeBob and debut new episodes on Paramount Plus?
That's gonna be like that. To me, I think that would be like a game changer, right? Like, because it's official. Like,
well, Pokemon, we just said, is on Netflix. Cable. Like, streaming is now where everything is at now.
I guess that's true. I don't know. I growing up, I really liked Comedy Central. There was a lot of good shit on Comedy Central.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the Chappelle Show, Futurama, It's Always Sunny.
I always loved cable as a kid because that was like the best way to, like, I would catch so much new shit that I wouldn't even know, like random crap like The Nanny or Roseanne or Full House, or even like animated stuff like everything from Courage the Cowardly Dog to Scooby-Doo to, even like foreign stuff like Code Lyoko, which I guess no one has ever heard of besides me, or Shaolin Showdown on the Kids W. There's so many programs I would see, and maybe I had an old man moment the other day when I heard like the kids talk about all the shows they watch on streaming, but like, man, like they'll never know. I wonder if maybe like we're the last generation like would feel that, oh, we have to wait a week to see it, or if you want to watch this episode again, you'd have to wait for it to come on TV again.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I know, and it was a kind of a weird realization when this happened, right? I remember one of the coolest things about going to the movies was you'd go in, you'd sit down, a trailer would come on, and you'd never seen it. Like, I didn't even know this movie was being made. Like, the first realization that this movie is even being made is me watching it in the theater, right? Looking at this trailer. And that's so cool, right? Like, so many movies where it's just like, imagine if, like, you just go, you sit down to watch a movie, and then the fucking Batman trailer comes up. You're like, what? You know, as a kid, like, it's something. And then I eventually realized, like, oh, like, that's done, right? Like, because of the internet, like, the trailer drops, you watch it way before, you know about these movies way before. Like that sort of thing, kids don't.
They don't know what that is.
It's just not a thing anymore. What I'm trying to say is you're going to die soon.
I know. Netflix is doing some interesting stuff lately. I feel like they may begin to turn the page on how they drop their new stuff, because they unveiled some teaser posters for Stranger Things 4 coming out this year. But they announced a departure in terms of like how they're going to drop this season compared to the first 3 seasons. They're going to split it up into 2 parts. Is this the
last season?
No, we discussed this at length beforehand. At one point, it was supposed to be the last season, but it no longer is the last season.
The only reason I'm asking, which is also funny because you look at them now, they're goddamn adults. Whenever this last season comes, it's funny. But also the poster, because I saw the posters, and it said every ending has a beginning, and to me, that kind of makes sense if it's like we're dropping the first part, right? Like, this is the beginning of the end, as in this is the last season. So here's the first part, and then you're going to get the second part.
I saw that as well. I think it was... for me, the way I read it was that this was the new beginning for the series. Not the beginning of this season, but like a new like era of Stranger Things that would not just be this season. That's how I read it, because I knew that 4 isn't the last one. I know 5 is like being written or is on the way.
Okay, but that's such a weird way to word it, right? Like,
I know,
because it's not like to a new beginning, like, or as they would just say a new beginning. It's every ending has a begin, which is basically saying this is the beginning of the end.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little weird way to put it.
But the interesting thing is they're splitting up into 2 parts for the first time. Like, before, all the previous seasons were just dropped all at once. Now they're doing it into 2 parts, and not like, like with Peacemaker or with like Fear Street or with Arcane, where it's like a week to week. No, there's going to be like some there are a few weeks or a couple of months in between these 2 parts.
I mean,
it is Stranger Things. People are going to watch it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think they're toying with. I don't think Netflix wants to necessarily go week to week,
right?
Because they're known as the binge.
Yeah,
that's kind of like something that I guess you could say they have. That's unique to them, at least now, anyway.
Right.
And I think they're like, we popularized it. We got big because of this. We don't want to necessarily throw it away. But then they also understand staying power is big as well. Right. So you can release less content, spread it out, keep people subscribed while spending less money. So yeah, I think they're going to go like, okay, we're dropping this, and then the second half. Like, again, I liked the way they did it for Arcane.
Yeah. 3 a week.
So yeah,
that's interesting. Before we move off streaming completely, so Disney announced that West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg film, you may not have heard of it because nobody saw it, but it is going to debut on Disney Plus March 2nd. I always find it interesting, the films that they choose from the Fox catalog to put on Disney Plus versus Hulu. I gotta ask you though, do you feel like, considering the subject matter of West Side Story, that does it feel a bit odd putting West Side Story on Disney Plus, or because it's a musical and it's sung and danced that overtakes any of the oddness of it?
I think it fits on Disney Plus.
Okay.
I think because there's a lot of, if you remember family films before the modern era,
More musicals.
We're not afraid to not be like this overly sanitized family friendly version that Disney has perfected. Family films back in the day were a little edgier, right?
Oh yeah,
and a lot of older
Gremlins?
movies, for sure. Like
Yeah.
a lot of older movies that are on Disney Plus right now, I think are like at the same level of edge to them as West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, especially when it even though it's a new movie, it plays like an old movie.
That's true.
So I think that's sort of where it works for them. And I mean, look at the original Star Wars. There's blood. There's blood in it. Why? Because I'm sure at the time they're like, well, when you cut someone's arm off, there's blood.
Yeah.
And today it's like, oh no, you can't show blood. No. I
don't know why though. I don't know where that came from.
The funniest offenders to me is I think Black Panther. Because they show fully what's his name?
T'Challa?
No. Evil T'Challa.
Killmonger.
Killmonger. He slits one of the Dormilaj's throats.
Right.
And like just nothing. Like he goes like that and there's not a line.
But there's
no blood.
The camera pulls back though. We don't see it happen.
You see it.
It doesn't?
It's just kind of like, and then just I remember that's what stood out to me. Like,
okay, but you don't actually see her throat like being cut open. The camera pulls it back at a distance, right?
Maybe I need to rewatch that specific scene.
I remember
I remember looking at the throat and seeing his little knife like go across it. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
And I remember what stood out to me.
Not from the front that I recall. I should watch it again.
I think I remember seeing it in the front. Maybe I'm wrong. Because what stood out to me was I was like, they're not even trying to hide that like that they just refuse to show actual violence, like even blood at all. Because like even the superheroes, at the end of the movie, they always have like a tiny little, they have their like perfect little scars here and there, and maybe a little bit of blood, dried blood down the nose. But then you look at like the original Spider-Man movie, and when he's getting his fucking ass kicked by the Green Goblin, like blood is like being spurred out of his mouth in slow motion. Why? Because when you get hit, there's fucking blood, right?
Don't forget their big blowout hairs.
Their hair.
Oh
yeah, okay, for sure. But yeah, violence used to just be like, well, yeah, of course we're gonna show it because that's what would happen in the situation. Whereas today, I don't know, everything's so, and we've talked about this, right? Like Disney has just sanitized violence and made characters sexless.
That's why I asked last week
past
if like
films have not used to be okay with that kind of stuff.
Like we talked about, Alan Horn did try, and I don't recall, I believe there are like people smoking in West Side Story, right? Because he did try to like get that from not happening in the movie.
Yeah, which I guess on one level it's like smoking's bad, but characters should be able to smoke. I don't know, that to me that's a silly thing.
Yeah.
It's insane to me how like we've been able to like just go fucking hard in the shit against smoking, and everyone's like, well, yeah, smoking's bad, okay, but now like wearing a mask, it's like that's fucking freedom, man. It's so weird. You shouldn't be able to tell me to wear a mask. But as far as I'm concerned, like even in kids shit, if you should be able to like see an adult smoke or drink alcohol or do adult things.
Is Roger Rabbit on Disney Plus right now?
That's another one where it's like, yeah, they drank alcohol and they smoked because that was the whole thing. Like I remember Paul Giamatti, he's in The Jungle Cruise, and he said how he's like, he wanted to just do something anything interesting with his character. Yeah. And he's like, well, I'll have a little monkey and he'll light my cigars for me, right? He's like, that'll be a little thing that he can do. And then they're like, but then he was like, but it's Disney and they don't let you do that shit. So I couldn't have that. which is like, just do it. Like,
That's so dumb.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess Steven was the exception because he is Steven
Oh
Spielberg.
yeah, and also it wasn't a Disney movie.
Houston Cauley is somebody we talk about. At least I mention a lot. I love his Twitter feed. He has a lot of great takes. But he actually threw out an idea that I wonder, in an alternate reality, at least I would have liked to have taken a peek into that alternate reality. And he kind of like was saying, wouldn't it have been amazing, like, since West Side Story is like a family movie, like a movie for the whole family, right, to enjoy, as you say. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it have been great? Granted, of course, Disney had another movie that they were prioritizing at that time for Disney Plus, but how much more of an impact West Side Story would have made if they had like saved that film for Christmas Day, like on Disney Plus.
I think a Christmas Day Disney Plus, I think you definitely could have seen more.
And on to that point, do you what impact do you think West Side Story would make now on March 2nd or wherever it is? I have to think that it would make more of an impact because it's on Disney Plus and not relegated simply to Hulu or HBO Max.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, look at the way Hamilton blew up.
So, I mean, if we're getting ready for a phenomenon of West Side Story to come back, I'm here for it. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it because, of course, when does life ever turn out that way for me? But I mean, hey, I love that movie and I can't wait to see it, perform well if that is the case. Okay, so let's move on to some other stuff we got to catch up on. We just talked about the Oscars real quick. I guess they announced who's hosting. And in my humble opinion, I feel like this is quite embarrassing. You have Wanda Sykes, Amy Schumer, and Regina Hall, and I don't know how any of those names scream Oscar host, but I have to tell you, you can always count on the Academy to really like top themselves on how bad they are or how stupid they are. I don't know.
Terrible fucking decision. Like, is there like an inside plant trying to take down the Academy? First of all, like those three hosts together, like, no, I'm sorry. Terrible. And I enjoy all three women to a certain extent. I was just rewatching The New Adventures of Old Christine.
Wanda Sykes is on that show. Yeah. So is Clark Gregg and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I believe
the priest from I completely forget it.
Yes,
from Midnight Mass.
Right.
No, that's actually a pretty funny sitcom.
It is, yeah.
But just these three specifically hosting the Oscars, the way they're doing it, where it's like, I guess they're each getting an hour or something like that, which tells you they're planning for a 3-hour broadcast.
They insist on their 3-hour broadcast.
And I feel like you can cut down on so much of like when we return to the Oscar. I don't know. There's so much little shit I feel they could cut to maybe get to a more necessary time.
I think it also just like it speaks to like how no one really wants to host the Oscars anymore, because it was reported they asked a lot of people and they were turned down at every turn. They did ask Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez, the stars from Only Murders in the Building originally, but there were scheduling conflicts, quote unquote. They also asked Tom Holland, and he said, no, I have other places to be.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw someone suggest this. I don't know how you'll feel about this. That the issue isn't that people don't want to do it. It's that they ask them like a month before. They ask them too late. Like they should have a host in like a year before.
It used to be that way. I have to remember. I have to think that if I remember correctly, I want to say that the last person that we all know the Kevin Hart controversy, but I have to believe that Kevin Hart was announced months in advance before the actual, date was going to be held. Because
this might surprise a lot of people, but A-listers are busy, right? Like you can't just ask them a couple of months, like, hey, can you fucking host this shit, put on a production. Like, no, because Tom Holland, he really made it seem like he wanted to do it. Like he was almost pitching himself to host the Oscars, and it's like, if you asked him today to do next year's Oscars, he might be say like, yes. Fuck yeah, like let me make sure my schedule's cleared, and then also you have like a year to come up with ideas and really perfect the show that you want to do, instead of just have like a couple of months. And yeah, but again, this is another one of those decisions where I don't think it takes a lot of brain power to come to these conclusions. Like, A-listers are busy. You want A-listers to host? Ask them much longer in advance. Like, I don't know.
At the end of the day, we're in for... I'm not expecting much. I never expect anything out of these telecasts these days, but I have to imagine at the very least there'll be something, unlike the previous year where it was just a bore fest all the way throughout. So,
oh my god, last year's was easily, I think, the worst Oscars we've ever seen. Because that was the first year where we watched it together. Kyle, and no, Kyle wasn't there, was he? Yeah, he was.
He was there. We had seen it before together, I believe, years ago.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
but this was the first year where we're all sitting there. And we're just fucking bored.
This was boring. We were fast forwarding through all the speeches. There were no clips. People were going on and on like endlessly. It's like
they were just sucking each other off for like half the time. Like, oh, you're such an inspiration. Da, 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 da. And no one wants to hear that shit.
No one.
The only thing we want to hear, first of all, we wanted the surprise of who wins. We want you to keep the camera
at the end of the telecast.
We want you to keep the camera on the losers because we want to see them. We want to see them shatter.
Right.
And then we want to hear the speeches.
Michael Keaton, like, anybody? Too soon?
Oh God, too soon. Way too soon.
Sylvester Stallone?
My Batman. Oh my God. Stop it.
You're killing me. You've been dragging Mark Rylance for years for doing nothing.
I will continue to.
There are so many other people that got nominated throughout all the years that did nothing.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same year as what's his name? Fucking Rocky, okay? So yeah, I think there's very specific things that people want to see, and just focus on those and cut the fat out of everything else. And performances, right? Like,
yeah,
the whole like main song thing, like kick up the production value on that.
Yeah, last year they took the songs out of it completely for whatever reason. Oh, because of COVID, I think. They didn't want to have like...
Sure, but even the year before, it's usually just like someone... there's really not much production value to it, I feel.
No.
In years past. They're just singing it in front of everyone, and it's like, no, like, do a fucking performance. That's why I think it would have been so cool if We Don't Talk About Bruno got nominated.
Yeah.
Because you could just imagine, like...
Or Edgar's Prayer, the song from Barb and Star.
Yes. Like, I can imagine the performance that you can put on. Like, this is the Oscars. You should be aiming for, like, Broadway level shit.
Right. Like the whole movie Eurovision. Like, get numbers from that movie, basically.
Just go big. Have fun.
That's what Sing 2 did.
We should host the Oscars.
We should host the Oscars. Yeah, we can go on and on about this. Real quick. So this was interesting. They announced a new, I guess, I don't know what they're calling this. They're going to recognize the Twitter's top fan voted film. This is not a new category. This is not an Oscar. No. This is like a Twitter poll, basically. But this is what the report said. Twitter users will get to vote on their favorite films that were released in 2021, regardless of if the film was nominated for an Oscar. And they're going to take time during the ceremony to announce who won the Twitter poll. It's a Twitter poll.
Zack Snyder's
That's
Justice
not eligible.
League. Okay,
it's not eligible because it didn't debut in theaters, so it's not eligible. By the way, Luca is ineligible for that as well because of that. So thank you very much, Pixar.
You know if it was eligible? it would have won the Twitter poll. Because those Zack Snyder fans are relentless.
Spider-Man.
They would have ensured.
The entire reason this even exists.
I know, they're going to give it to Spider-Man.
One, because for years they've been trying to get people that don't care about movies to tune in. And two, why, I don't know, but that's what they're doing. And two, they want to give Spider-Man something. So congratulations, they win a Twitter poll.
But if they had just accepted any movie, you would have had a fucking a best actor situation like last year, where they structured the whole thing around giving an award to a certain film, and then they just completely bungle it and give it to someone else.
Again, to be clear, this is not an award. This is not but we know what you're talking about. Right.
Fuck it, whatever.
I just want to be clear, this is not an Oscar, because that would be ridiculous if they just like gave an Oscar to whoever won a Twitter poll. That would be a different story.
Yeah,
people would be outraged at that point. I don't know why.
Well, like I said, I like my my initial idea. I like better.
That's what I was going to say. Like it kind of like, you joked that See Someone Powerful is listening to our podcast because you were suggesting like, what you had originally suggested was that, they announced like people live tweeted or voted the night of the telecast itself, and then they take time to reveal the results of like who won this poll or whatever. Or what did the people think their favorite movie of the year was?
So like if best actor, right? Like you do everything like you regularly do, like you announce the nominations and stuff like that, and then people will live tweet who they want to win, right? So like right after they announce the actual winner and they do their speech, you don't have a presenter come up and say it, but maybe you have like a voiceover that only us at home can hear. Like the
text
winner
on the screen.
The winner of the People's Choice, I guess you would say, was such and such, right? The results for who
Tom
you
Holland.
wanted at home were Tom Holland. No, but see, that's the thing. Right. The reason why you keep it the same is because it has to be the ones that are already nominated, right? So like if we're doing it for Best Picture, you can't just vote for any film you want.
Right. It has to be the 10. One of the 10 that's already nominated, right? So in that case, Dune would probably win. Right.
But that's still it's people will feel like, yes,
they had a voice.
The people had a voice, right? Even if you don't win anything, I think it makes them feel engaged, right? And I think that's how everyone can have it, right? You still maintain the illustrious, like the Academy Awards, the esteemed, and then the voters make their choice. The Academy voters make their choice, but then you also have like the People's Choice, where they can feel like my voice is being heard too. Right. I think that would be a good thing. And also it takes advantage of like technology to keep people into the show.
You can build interaction, all that stuff is there. But this is not how they're going to handle it. They're actually going to take time during the ceremony. I don't want that to be awkward because I don't want to see anything awkward. Right? And let's be real, like the Academy can do a lot of cringe pretty easily.
But see, that's the thing. I don't want them to like go in front of the podium and say like, we took a Twitter poll at home.
They're doing that.
God.
That's exactly what they're doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like in my mind, the way it would work is like some announcer, not in the actual area, just like
through a speaker system. Yeah,
says to the people at home, like the winner of the whatever for Best Actress, you voted at home. And you voted for and then that's it, right? But if you actually have like, I don't know, fucking Tom Holland come out and be like, the winner of the coolest movie of the year is, oh my gosh, Spider-Man. Like, it's a little, it's kind of pathetic, right? Like, it kind of comes off that way.
But let's be honest. The Academy, by definition, are pathetic. I mean, look at the two biggest bungles of the last decade: the La La Land Moonlight scenario, and then also the Anthony Hopkins Chadwick Boseman thing that happened last year. Like, but look at both of those were so needlessly blundered by their own people.
It didn't have to be that way.
No, they did it themselves, And they keep doing it to themselves. So if that's what they want to do, fine. Okay, let's get into some of these Super Bowl trailers. Lord of the Rings. I liked these movies when I saw them years ago, and I appreciated the world, their craft, and the acting, and the music, and the action. But like Harry Potter, it's just not one of those things that connected with me, and I can't say that I ever at all think about this franchise in any way, shape, or form. I like these movies. I understand
I think we gotta do a rewatch because they're insanely good, right?
I know they are. I saw them and I like
emotional.
Okay, you know what? We gotta plan a rewatch this year. We'll put a date on it.
I think we gotta do it because I think you will be open. You gotta open your heart to them.
Did you buy the 4K versions?
Many moments.
I mean, we have
the
them.
Blu-ray.
We have the Blu-ray versions already. I'm just curious. If anybody,
the thing is, I have the extended versions. I don't think we should watch the extended versions because that's.
Are those the ones that have been redeemed on our shared Vudu?
I think so.
Or Movies Anywhere. So we'll have to check on which ones they are.
I think it's better theatrical.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I saw this trailer and it looked pretty. It looked nice, but I couldn't get what you said about it because you teed it up with it literally ripped off the Force Awakens teaser trailer from 2014 now. Shit, 7 years ago or 8 years ago. And so you teed it off that way. And so I saw the trailer just now before we went on the air and it's like, wow, this is the same thing. Like the shots, some of the dialogue and the music was it felt like they were going as much as they could, legally speaking, that John Williams score from that trailer. It's a good trailer. But it's the exact same thing as the Force Awakens teaser one to a T.
It is very pretty. I agree. It's I'm not hot. Especially now because The Force Awakens, love it, hate it, feel whatever about it, feel in the middle, maybe a little good, a little bad. It has ruined fucking movies, man. The consequences.
Well, which is it? Is it The Force Awakens or the MCU? We can say both of them did. Let's be real about that.
You know what? I'm gonna be real. I think it's mostly The Force. I would say The Force Awakens more.
And it's a shame because I love that movie. I think it's a really good movie. You do as well. Except there's been so many versions of that movie now throughout media that it's just tiny. That's why I look, Ivan Reitman passed away a few days ago and rest in peace at 75 years old. And one of the things that's why I didn't completely trash Ghostbusters Afterlife because there was a lot of heart in there, at least with that ending, that genuine moment, as well as the whole the son-father relationship with the director and everything. But it still was and very much felt like the Force Awakens of that franchise. But because I had no connection to the Ghostbusters lore, I didn't care at all.
If anything, it's kind of annoying, right?
It was. It's like they stopped the movie to show off a Twinkie.
Oh, God. I'm glad that movie exists for Ivan Reitman, right? For a fact, it was a really fulfilling and emotional experience.
Especially now that since he's gone now, he got to have that before he passed away.
I'm really glad he got to experience that movie and just have it come out. And also a lot of Ghostbuster fans enjoy it and all that. I think that's great. But yeah, to me, it's another one of the casualties of The Force Awakens where it's just... The reason why I say The Force Awakens has had a worse impact on film than the MCU is because the main thing driving The Force Awakens is this just hardcore reverence for nostalgia, for the past.
And again, at the time, we allowed it, and I still will say, for a one-time deal,
it's good, right?
It's good. Yeah. The problem was everybody else just did the same thing.
And they're still doing it, right? It reminds me of The Force Awakens is not nearly as good as The Dark Knight, but it reminds me of The Dark Knight. It came out and everyone's like, oh my God, that's great. So then everything had to be a dark and gritty reboot. Gritty was this word. I think you banned the word.
I banned the word on this show because I was so done with it, like years ago.
Yeah.
Like from this point forward, I do not want to hear that word because of so many personalities that I see online about keep using that word. Remember, the whole reason the Andrew Garfield movies exist is because they wanted to do a dark and gritty reboot.
It's a dark and gritty
Spider-Man.
reboot. It's the real story of Spider-Man.
Right.
It's not your grandpa's Spider-Man.
But at the same time, interestingly enough, we mentioned Garfield, but wouldn't Spider-Man No Way Home feel right at home with the likes of Ghostbusters Afterlife and Star Wars The Force Awakens?
Yeah, for sure. In a lot of ways. That's why I like the film. I'm not in love with it, right? Because and I said this like a million times. A part of me kind of just wanted, and I still think this would have been the better Spider-Man film, is having that
Kraven the Hunter movie.
That Kraven the Hunter movie, where it's just him dealing with all the repercussions and the issues to his personal life and having to deal with the spotlight, and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes of that. Maybe some slight Daredevil cameo shit, but like, I'm sorry, I think that would have been a better film.
It would have, yeah.
Because all the stuff that I love about
it wouldn't have made $1.8 billion.
It would not.
No.
But all the stuff I love about No Way Home is the personal stuff, where they finally start treating him like a Spider-Man, like the fucking character. But yeah, for me, the nostalgia bit is really what fucking. It's what killed everything. It's like where we cannot stop looking to the past and going like, look at how great that thing is that you loved when you were a kid, and it's like, yeah, I did, and now I'm an adult, and just like make something new, please. Because I feel so bad. Like, what new shit do kids have, right? Like, I feel like older generations are so set on like, you need to love everything that I loved at your age, and it's like, I don't want that. Like, one of the cool things I think is like, I don't know, what is it, like Cartoon Network? There's so many like new cartoons that I've never seen, but I hear are like really cool, and like all these kids are growing up with. Like, I grew up with like Ed, Edd and Eddy and Courage and Dexter, all those, and I'm like Johnny Bravo,
right?
Which is, I think, even
Powerpuff
funnier.
Girls was there.
Powerpuff Girls, yeah, so much fun. I don't need kids to grow up with the exact thing. If anything, I think it's so cool that they have their own awesome shows and awesome cartoons. Like, what's the new thing? Like, what are we?
Well, one generation had Adventure Time. That's now past. Another generation had Steven Universe.
Yes, right. And then if you keep going back, other generations grew up with Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And
the Flintstones, Jetsons.
The Flintstones and the Jetsons, right? Like, imagine if we just had endless reboots of the Flintstones and the Jetsons. Like, I grew up with that cartoon. My parents grew up with it. Kids today are just growing up with it. It's like, why do you want that?
That's the point, right? Like,
yeah,
nostalgia is fine, but it can't be everything.
No, it's little light things here and there are cool, but like, we should want to move forward.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that should be, and maybe it was clearly not just an American thing, right? But I do think in America, we have such a hard-on thing for the
nostalgia,
quote-unquote past. Traditionalism. Right. Everything was better back in the day. Like there's a lot of that, and it's like, sure, there's a lot of cool stuff in the past and da-da-da-da-da, but what was the thing that I liked most about the past is they were always thinking about the future. Like, I think about the 60s, they're like, we're getting to the fucking moon. Like, when they would think about the future, they would think about like flying cars and like, they were always excited to see like, okay, how different is it going to be in the future? And now we're not, right? No. Like, it's
to be fair, good. I don't know how much of a future there is. And that's kind of,
but the thing is, the reason why our future is in question is because we no longer strive for it, I think.
We don't want to get to that point because I feel like we all have resigned ourselves to like, well, the future is death and destruction and doom and gloom. And that's all it's going to be because of where we are. It doesn't have to be that. You're right.
It's so annoying, right? Because like, I hate the whole American exceptionalism thing, but it used to be the thing of like, we're American. Yeah, we can fucking do it. Like when World War II hit, like, boom, overnight, we just transformed the entire country into a war machine, right? And we like did it over fucking night.
Right.
You know, we went from, yeah, we're gonna go to the fucking moon and we're gonna do it first. How? We don't fucking know, but we're gonna do it. To now where it's like, oh no, we can't really change anything because like the slightest change might not be great, and like all these excuses, and it's again, I know we went from like a fucking a teaser for the Lord of the Rings show to like talking about the collapse of
Everything.
Of everything. I mean, if you're listening, that's why you listen, because that's all we fucking do. That's why we have 2 listeners, and one of them's David. No, actually,
Right.
I think he dropped off. He got tired of us.
No, one of them's David, the other one's Sergio. Alexis listens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sergio.
We got 3 people.
3. Yes, 3. But if you listen, like, that's what, I guess that's what we do. But to me, like, I do think there's like a clear connection between the way we would think of the future and think of like, yes, I can't wait to see how things change, and just looking for the new thing,
Yeah.
to now it's like, well, the future sucks, so let's just keep gravitating to the past, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do think there's a very real, if psychological, if not like subconscious connection to that. And I think that sucks.
I agree. I feel exactly the same way. And it's definitely, at least for our purposes here on this podcast, it has definitely come at the detriment of storytelling.
Yes. Which really sucks, because it's like, this keeps me happy until the next thing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Until the next extinction event.
yeah.
Anyway, the trailer itself, do you care about this series coming on Amazon? Look, Prime Video has some great content on their streaming service. Not much, but they have some great content. And they're pouring millions and millions of dollars. I believe this is going to be the most expensive television show ever made in history.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I went into that whole fucking tirade. I forgot to mention, it does look expensive.
Yeah.
It does look beautiful.
Yeah.
The big issue for me, though, is what I always really loved about those Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films is how real the world felt, right?
Yeah.
Like, everything was grimy. Like you see their fingernails, and there's fucking dirt in every little corner. Why? Because they all live in like, it's in the fucking past, right? Like, everyone always had like dirt on them,
Smudge. Let me look at everything with Gollum.
Yeah, like it felt very real. There was an earthiness to it. And from what I'm seeing of this trailer, it's slick. It looks nice, but it's a little bit too slick,
polished.
a little bit too clean, a little too polished. Like, the characters, they look very clean.
Yeah, they do.
And I think that's an issue, because
It's an issue, but it's also, like we just discussed earlier, a byproduct of modern day movie making.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Again, shit's a little too polished nowadays.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll probably will check it out though. I am curious.
Oh, for sure. I'm very curious. I don't have high hopes.
Right.
I like Peter Jets, but it's
fuck that. The song "High Hopes" by Panic at the Disco, which was the campaign song for Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
That might be my least favorite song ever.
I hate that song because I hate him. Anyway, we can just not touch politics.
I know. I need to stop.
Well.
I know.
Yeah.
I keep steering it that way. Yeah, it's, you can see the money for sure.
Speaking of money,
yeah,
are we done with this one?
Yeah, for sure. Let's
all right. Jurassic World Dominion.
Yes.
Speaking of money, this is gonna make all the money. You can
oh my
see
god, yeah. This is another Spider-Man No Way Home.
This is crazy. Which, I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, it is dinosaurs and it is that franchise name. And honestly, like, a Fallen Kingdom notwithstanding, every entry has been highly entertaining, I would say. There were parts of Fallen Kingdom that were, well, I guess funny for some reasons. Scooby-Doo.
To me, Fallen Kingdom jumped the shark
Yeah.
or jumped the prehistoric shark. I don't know.
But I guess you could say it was necessary to get to this movie because this is basically like Planet of the Apes almost. At least this level.
Yeah.
With,
and it's really stupid.
It is.
But
it looks a lot of fun, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I more than anything, I didn't want to be excited about this film.
Right.
And I'm not, because I'm
Right.
sure it'll let me down.
At some point.
Yes. But what I liked about Jurassic World was there's just a lot of, well, it's not a great film.
No.
I think by any means.
It's a great popcorn film. It's a great crowd pleaser.
There's a lot of moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm happy that I saw like that whole third act where it's like the fucking T-Rex versus
my God.
they're all fighting.
The crowd I saw it with was going crazy for that.
Yeah, and it's like this is very like cheap on the nose like crowd pleasing shit, but like the stupid 8-year-old on me is like, yeah, smash
sometimes it does just work.
Uh-huh. And as far as I'm concerned, you're really not losing anything because there's nowhere to go after the first. To me, the first Jurassic Park film is the only like genuinely great one.
You can't touch that.
Yeah, like it's a lightning in the bottle. It's the one and done, and that's fine, right? So everything afterwards, it's just. See, I would be more mad if it's like there's legitimately good ideas out there for a sequel, but they're doing this crap instead. But no, like the only thing you can do is this crap.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do it, like okay, like let's have fun, right? And this whole thing of like Jurassic World, now it's literally Jurassic World.
That's
the whole world is the park. It's so stupid, and it's like fuck it, let's do it. Let's have some fun. Yeah.
I just like, how do they come back from this? Like, how do they make a part 7 or 8 after this movie?
They said it was the climax in the trailer. They said this is it. This is our end game.
Well, yeah. Man, that's. Oof. Okay. Well, it was a good trailer. It was a very good trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Had again, the litter with the nostalgia of the old film. They have like John Hammond's voiceover. You even have some new lines in from the trio. What was it? Statler and Grant and Malcolm, otherwise known as Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, and Sam Neill.
And of course,
by the way, they've all aged terribly well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Amazing people. They look beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know a lot of people are like, see, Star Wars, this is what we wanted. Yeah, I know. I did that just to piss you off. And I want to get ahead of that yet again. Well, actually, I think I already got ahead of it because I said, like, if there was, for me, there was actually interesting, awesome directions to go with Star Wars, which I think they did go in The Last Jedi. Yeah, with one movie. So the idea of just having stupid, like, look at your favorites are back again. Fuck that. I would have hated that because there was actually good directions to go in where you don't do that. Like,
fuck that and fuck you.
Yeah.
You get everything else. I'm done with you. Okay.
Whereas with Jurassic Park, this is the only thing left to, like, there is no good other direction to go in. Like,
yeah.
There was one good movie and they've been milking it ever since. So yeah, might as well jump the prehistoric shark again and do this crazy shit. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna have stupid fun.
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. Moon Knight wasn't very much more than what we got, I think, from the original trailer, but I'm very intrigued, and it still feels a little off kilter to be like in the MCU. It doesn't necessarily feel like it fits there, which is a positive for me.
That's very positive. I will say, it doesn't feel as dark as I would like it to be.
No, it didn't.
I still feel like Moon Knight would fit better under the Netflix, the like that tone.
Right.
And this is not at that level.
Right.
It's a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a lot lighter, but still not. It's still darker than I think anything else so far within Marvel's. But it's very intriguing. I'm a big fan of Moon Knight, so
Right.
I'm looking forward to it.
And it's coming out at the same time as the Batman, I think.
Yes,
It'll be interesting. to
it's
see.
I saw someone tweet it's a great month for Dark Knights.
It seems that way. And then we also had, this is the biggest one, the trailer for the second trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And let me tell you something. First, couple of takeaways. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Raimi has introduced color back into the MCU. So we can check.
Was that so hard?
We can just check the box from on one of the accomplishments there. Okay, let's get that out of the way with. Also, listen. I noticed that there was some great direction in those shots. I particularly love that last one with Wanda, as we take a close up into her eye. I don't mean to shit on this. I really don't. But I've seen that trailer a couple of times now. There's two takeaways that that I have with this. The first one is, holy fuck, they crammed every single shot in this trailer was just crammed with so many people in the frame. I don't know how they were able to fit them. There were so many people almost randomly, like, I don't know who you are or what you're doing here, but then that's my main takeaway is like, okay, cool, but why?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why are we here? Why are we doing this? What is the story?
What is the emotional core? Like what is the point? That's the one major negative takeaway I have so far from this Doctor Strange film. Because if you look at another film, the last film that Marvel did, which is very similar, I think, where it's like, okay, cramming a bunch of shit, which is Spider-Man No Way Home. But
you may have heard of it.
Yeah, I could, even when I was at my least interested, you could sort of see an emotional through line for the character. And I think within the film, it very much became clear the emotional core of what
it did,
keeps all of this crazy shit connected.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it's like, what's the emotional core for Doctor Strange? Like, emotionally, what is his character arc? What is he going through? Like, what is it just crazy shit being thrown at him, or like why?
Yeah.
Why?
So many times in this trailer, I was like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening here, and I'm just like trying to figure out in my mind, but why?
Mm-hmm.
What is the point? Where are we going? Aside from, oh, it's a multiverse movie and it's going to make $1 billion. And look at all of this like fan shit we can cram in here. And to be honest with you, like, I don't even care about that. Like, there was some stuff in here. I'll be honest. Hearing Patrick Stewart's voice again did, like, my ears perked up. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I'm like, okay. Oh, I did like the delivery by Elizabeth Olsen in that, like, she was like, I guess, leading into a little bit of her evil tendencies were like, when you break the rules, you're a hero, but when I do it, I'm the bad guy, or I'm the enemy. And I don't think that's fair. Yeah, I love the delivery there.
Yeah,
but then she's also right at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
she's making her villain point, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But the other thing is too, and I have to look. We already know what this movie, because like we extensively, at least you and I, shared leaks with each other. They were 100% true.
Yeah,
like
for
every
sure.
leak has been confirmed by that trailer. So I have to wonder then, and this is where I'm going to put spoiler alert if you don't want to know the ending of this movie or what happens in this movie. So just skip in the timestamps below to the next thing. So the leaks that I read suggested, or flat out said, that Wanda has like a last minute like, oh, I fucked up and she sacrifices herself to like save the day.
That's a very Raimi thing to do.
And you know what? Fair. If that is, but it ain't just a very Raimi thing to do. I just feel like, okay, for me, as a fan of this character, this very much feels like Dark Phoenix ×2. Like the Dark Phoenix situation that happened with Sophie Turner, at least in that movie, right? But in this case, you actually have a popular character. You actually have a well-rounded character with Wanda Maximoff. And it just, I feel like, for me, as a fan of that character, leaves a bad taste in my mouth any way you cut it. Just that's out of principle. The next thing is, this is like the third big female lead in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that, technically speaking, sacrifices herself. Next to Natasha Romanoff and, well, Gamora was murdered. But
I was gonna say, how funny would it be if in the movie, the way that she sacrifices herself is to go through the a multiverse timeline and throw herself off that same fucking cliff with the same music playing. Literally every time a woman dies in the MCU, it has to be the exact same way.
I'm sorry, I'm just like...
That would be so funny. I would love it. And then of course they do that pan shot where she's like bloody lying on the at the bottom and like the two other bodies are next to her. Gamora's body and Natasha's body.
And now Wanda.
Yeah.
But just see the problem here, it's like, this isn't gonna look good. I don't know why they think it's gonna look good when they do that to Wanda. Especially since Wanda is like so much more popular than I think Gamora or Natasha were.
I would say, I'm not saying the leaks are wrong. I'm saying I don't think that specific thing is set in stone.
I feel like a possibility could be where she encloses herself in a pocket dimension, but she's still technically living. That could happen, I feel.
I have a very difficult... I find it very difficult to believe that Wanda, quote-unquote, dies at the end of the movie, and we will no longer see her character ever again in the future. I just don't believe that.
Especially since I saw reports that House of Harkness is going to have her in the show.
Yeah, I don't think Kevin Feige would do that, right?
It just seems like a dumb move.
Yeah, again, when has he ever willingly just given up his toys like that? I don't think, as far as I'm concerned, I think she might. Well, he didn't care. Yeah. He did not care about them to begin with.
He was gonna make that movie, and then
but he didn't want to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
they forced it on him.
Right.
That's why he's like, fucking take him back. Fine. Which I still maintain. I think I would have liked the Inhumans movie.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's just. I just don't think he would do. The idea that like, okay, she's gonna die sacrificing herself, and then her character's dead. I just don't see them doing that.
No.
Like the idea that her character would be gone and Elizabeth Olsen would be done as playing this character, I find that insanely hard to believe. Like insanely hard to believe that that's what's gonna happen moving forward. Just from, not because I necessarily disagree with it like you. Mm-hmm. I think I would be okay. Like I don't know if I care that much.
On principle, I just wouldn't like to see her die, but you can like execute it in a way where I would be okay with the death, like as a story point, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But I guess the reason why I'm saying like I can't imagine that happening is very much from a business perspective.
Right.
It just seems too dumb.
Like the same way we knew Baby Yoda wasn't going anywhere at the end of The Mandalorian season 2.
You're not gonna have a third season without. So they literally created an entirely new show to tell you why. Hey, you know the very thing, the very mission for the first 2 seasons? Fuck that. He's back in our arms. Which, imagine what fucking whiplash it's going to be if someone didn't watch Book of Boba Fett and they're like, oh boy, season 3 of The Mandalorian. And then he's just there like, oh, wow, okay.
With Doctor Strange, I guess we'll see. I don't know. I don't really care, quite frankly. I guess I'm only curious to see the cameos, because from what I've read, they're gonna get really crazy with like a lot of blink and you'll miss it moments, and so
the thing that excites me about the movie isn't the cameos,
the direction.
It's not the multiverse, it's the madness. Okay, so like a big eyeball tentacle monster,
right,
in the middle of the road, and then there's actually civilians everywhere and it looks beautiful, and Doctor Strange is like throwing a big magical saw, all that stuff, really fucking cool. Zombie Doctor Strange
or zombie Wanda.
Yeah, A+.
All that stuff, by the way, was in the What If series. The eyeball thing, the zombie. I know.
I don't know if it's gonna be exactly. I don't know. I did not watch.
I did, and you really don't need to see it.
A lot of the visuals, right? Like when he's falling through the
dimensions,
and like the squirrel, like all the madness stuff to the movie, really cool. I'm really digging. That's the stuff that's me, because it has that Sam Raimi visual touch, and I'm sure during the action it'll have his momentum as well with the camera.
Yeah,
it's gonna be very fun, very entertaining. That's what I'm interested to. But like, I wonder what Marvel characters will pop up. That doesn't really. Well,
let me tell you why it excites me here, and this is because there's nothing else for me to be excited about. This trailer, what I would want this movie to be is a character piece. Since you have Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah.
And a story about Stephen Strange. This trailer did not tell me what about these events was going to push Stephen Strange forward as a character, or what, if any, arc he's going to have personally. So that telegraphs to me that you're not going to do that. So there's really nothing for me to care about here.
Like, what bothers me too is like they have that shot of fucking what's her name?
Wanda?
Not Wanda.
Chavez?
His love interest.
Christine.
Christine getting married to someone else, right? And I think he's like attending the wedding. Like, to me, it's like emotionally, right? Like, this is great foundation for like a character arc, right? It's this whole thing of like, that could have been me, right? But I have this duty, and if I didn't, maybe that could be me walking down the aisle. Maybe I still love her, like all this, but this duty to protect others. I don't know. Like, you can do something with that and explore the character in emotionally intriguing and fulfilling ways,
right?
While showing crazy shit, right? I mean, that's really the reason why Sam Raimi made such the best, I think, Spider-Man films, is because he tapped that emotional core of the character. That's his strength, like, really, to his filmmaking. So to give him the movie where it's just like cameos the movie,
which is what this is.
It's, I don't know. I'm really hoping he was able, because like I said, I was dead set against Spider-Man No Way Home, and I came out and I ended up quite enjoying it.
To say that we liked the movie, I think was an achievement. That's
an achievement. That was a monumental feat, right? Like, going in, I was kicking and screaming, and I came out going like, that's pretty good, So I'm really hoping that
this happens here again.
It's similar, right? Where I'm just like, I'm not crazy about this multiverse shit, and then they pull it together and have an emotional through line, or at least make it so much fun that I don't care.
There was this crazy look. I want to talk real quick here when it comes to like the leaks and everything, because I think there's still a lot of things that are being decided clearly, because the film is still being made. Right now it's in VFX work and everything. They just finished reshoots. There was this crazy thing that I've seen a couple of times now, that of all things, Anson Mount is going to appear in the movie, and he's going to play his character from the Inhumans TV show, which.
I don't think that's true.
How can that be true, though?
I don't think that's true.
How can it be true? That's the thing. Like, that makes no sense.
It's
like, who cares?
From the leaks I read, you know what? We're doing another spoiler tag. Spoilers.
Well, we're already spoiling everything.
Okay. Yeah. The Illuminati is made up of course,
Professor X.
Professor X, played by
Patrick Stewart. A multiverse Mordo, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes. Which I think that's the version where he is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, the dreadlocks.
Yeah, the dreadlocks one. And this one I found interesting. I wonder if they end up changing it, but this is what I read. It's the Mr. Fantastic, but it's the actor who played him in the 2000s films.
Huh. I haven't seen that
Mr.
one.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And then after that, it's Monica Rambeau if she had become
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Right. So that's Lashana Lynch or
not Monica. The one
Maria.
that was best friend.
Maria Rambeau, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I think it's
Lashana
Maria
Lynch.
Rambeau.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her. If she had ended up getting the Captain Marvel. I had heard about Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's
Tom Cruise.
In this version he's from what I'm hearing now, maybe they changed that, but the whole idea was this is like the most powerful Iron Man. He literally has Thanos' head in a jar and like 2 different Infinity Stones, like that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the characters, Boulder the Brave, who's a character from the Thor whatever
comics.
Yeah, played by his longtime actor collaborator. What's his name? Bruce Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard. Like that is the Illuminati in this.
And for those that aren't aware, the Illuminati and the role they play here, if you watch Rick and Morty, they're the Council of Ricks.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
What about Michael Fassbender? I thought he was going to have a fight with Wanda in this movie as Magneto.
No. From what I heard, it is Professor X that has a fight. Like, you know that shot where it goes into her eye?
Mm-hmm.
That's when she barges into there and is trying to get America Chavez, because America Chavez has the power to punch through universes, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
she is trying to get her to get to the universe where her kids are at. And that's when Professor X tries to stop her, and that whole like going into her eye is him going into her mind, her mind and trying to stop her, and then she kills him.
Like he was killed in The Last Stand, X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, basically, you know?
Basically.
It's Jean Grey, but this time it's Wanda Maximoff.
But you know what's interesting is he has, apparently, like, the wheelchair he has is the like, levitating wheelchair from the cartoon.
Days of Future Past. Oh, I thought, we saw one in Days of Future Past.
It's the... Okay, well, the one specifically, the design...
From the animated series.
Is from the animated series.
Right.
And, of course, they're reviving the animated series. And then also...
Is that Marvel Studios now? Is that considered Marvel Studios? Like the old one, not the new one?
I have no idea. Because also, and I saw people catch this, I actually don't know how true or not this is, but when they're falling through the universes, like, if you see the universe that they're cracking into... is animated.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh-huh.
But remember, a couple months back, there was this rumor or report that there was going to be a Big Hero 6 cameo in the movie.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
It looked like 2D animation, the one that they were going into. So
they've been in 2D animation, those characters.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what the leaks tell me.
Right.
But yeah, everything that I said, I read that, but long before the trailer came out. And then the trailer came out, and it's like, oh my god, it's like perfectly lined up. So
the only thing though I'm curious though is the leaks that I read had more extensive, like rogues gallery of like characters that would be here, not necessarily playing any kind of role, but are just in the background and are from like a collection of like Marvel movies and TV shows.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that was layered on top of all of the stuff that we just discussed. So I don't know if that part of it was true. And again, we don't know because this is being constantly changed, I imagine.
Yeah. This is what I'm really hoping. Because apparently, because you know how they went back and did a bunch of reshoots to add more cameos and shit? In the leaks that I read, I didn't read that. Oh, I forgot. Captain Carter is part of the Illuminati too.
Oh yeah.
She's one of the members.
Mm-hmm.
In the one that I read, in the big final battle between, spoilers, Doctor Strange and Wanda, it's like literally one sentence, and it's like they fight throughout the multiverse.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping is that's where the majority of you get your cameos from. Because I'm totally cool with that. Like, they're just falling from different universe to universe, fighting and trying to kill each other. That I'd be fine. Like, that to me is so much, like, I would prefer that so much more rather than it be like fucking Wizard of Oz, where they're just walking down the road and it's like there's a new character, and then walking down the road and like there's a new, like the whole movie just fucking be that. Right. I'd rather just like a few cameos throughout, like the
and
Illuminati.
That's the stuff that I was referring to that I'm interested in, like what they actually pull in.
Yeah. I will say it looks fun.
Sure. Yeah. It doesn't look bad.
Yes, and I guess for me though, like past Marvel films, when I'm not interested in like the emotional stuff, they don't look that like. I hate to always shit on this film, but Black Widow.
Yeah,
I didn't look at it and go like, "Oh, that's gonna be a lot of fun." Like, and it wasn't really like no. It was passable, right? Whereas I look at this trailer and it's like, even if there isn't an emotional core to it, although I really fucking hope there is,
there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
There's a lot of really cool stuff where I'm like, this looks fun, right? And like, I'm not even talking about the cameo stuff, just like all the weird shit,
the visuals, you know.
Yeah, and even America Chavez, she's actually a pretty cool character. So I am moderately excited about the film. And then I'm hoping that once I see it, a lot of the things that I'm worried about are alleviated, a la No Way Home, and I end up liking it a whole lot more.
Yeah, and that's the hope. I mean, of course, I want to like every movie I see.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I just feel like in the past, like I'll watch a trailer and be like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And I'm not that way with this one, I guess. Yeah.
I'm going to... Look, I know we've already gone 2 hours into this. We've gone way over. Let me just go over real quick what I saw this week. By the way, I purchased the Eternals Blu-ray from Target, and I told you this, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I don't know what's happening. Maybe they're just making less copies for exclusives on physical media. I mean, Peter and I are big fans of physical media. But the day before Eternals became available, which was this past Monday, I went on the app and I already saw that they only had like 2 left. And I'm like, but it's not even out yet. How are people able to go ahead and order their stuff before? I mean, the pre-orders were sold out. I understood that. But this is the day of the release, and this was like, oh, well, there I was the night before, making sure I purchased it to pick it up the next day, and I did, and it's a beautiful copy of it. And then physical media, please go and support it, guys. I just ordered some La La Land. That's
oh my god,
beautiful,
gorgeous. Beautiful. You know what? I think that's maybe its initial run, because like what's her name said, Miss Moreno. Mm-hmm. There are some Target exclusives that I think when they first got on the shelves, it's like, boom, they disappeared. Mm-hmm. But now I still see some of them, right? Like the last time I went, there's still some Target exclusives that I'm like, your movie's been out a while, and I still see them here. So I think like this is like the initial release.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you go in a few weeks, you'll still see some.
Right. Like Jungle Cruise and Shang-Chi has
I saw them. Yeah, when I went to Target, I saw those two. So yeah,
now those I think we may have a better shot. Like, but the Best Buy Steelbooks, however, those I think are a different story.
I think those disappear quicker. Luckily for me,
I don't care for Steelbooks.
A lot
really.
of steel. To me, you have to have a really nice design.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of steelbooks are ugly. I feel
and
like they pick the ugliest artwork.
I agree with you. And even when they do have a nice design, there's a version I like better. Like the Target one. That's the thing, right? So like
usually the Target's one better too.
Yeah. I do like the steelbook look for the Eternals one, but I far prefer the Target one because it's just more of an art style to it.
The Dune steelbook looked really nice.
I don't even remember that one.
It's you'll see it later.
I'll
it's
see
like
it later,
the desert, really colorful. It popped, but yeah, I feel like a lot of steelbooks are fucking ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it doesn't bother that much.
For No Way Home, I don't even know what version I'm gonna get because I don't like a single one of those designs that are out there.
Is that just Sony?
Yeah.
Their designs are so fucking ugly. Like, oh my god.
It's bad. So there's that. That's what I bought this week. So what did I watch? I finished Summer of Soul on Hulu. It is a great fucking documentary. Really kind of moving too because Questlove invited some of the people that were performed there. He showed them footage of it. It was emotional. And it really is just kind of like a moment in time. I think what really became a revelation for me is it kind of captured a moment in time where the African American community stopped identifying or being referred to as Negro and then embraced in a prideful way the term Black.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really great moment in time and a great documentary piece. Summer of Soul on Hulu. Next one I saw was Spencer. I hope to discuss this in more detail when Peter sees it, but I loved this movie.
I have to watch 5 seasons of The Crown first, apparently.
No. I feel like if you've seen 4 seasons, if you've seen the seasons, I'll put it this way. If I didn't see those 4 seasons and understood what these people are like and had no understanding of what the royal family is and what they do, I think I would be kind of lost from the get-go at the beginning of it. But it's a great film. Kristen Stewart is fucking amazing. The cinematography, one of the best of the year. I can't wait to discuss this film with you. So that's Spencer, also streaming on Hulu. Also on Hulu is The United States versus Billie Holiday, directed by Lee Daniels. This is actually a 2021 film, but for whatever reason was in the 2020 awards circuit last year. Andra Day does a good job, but it's every biopic movie you've ever seen and kind of dull. And just, I like, if you like those movies, go ahead and watch it. But for me, it just was kind of all over the place. Not really consistent, and it kind of left me like with, okay, well, that was nice. All right. Next
one of those movies.
Then there was The French Dispatch. Oh boy. I loved Wes Anderson's movie, The Grand Budapest Hotel. And that's the only other Wes Anderson film I've seen. I have not seen The Life Aquatic or Fantastic Mr. Fox or Isle of Dogs. I haven't seen any of those. You would like
Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox for sure.
Okay.
I've seen both. I really enjoyed those too. And I guess I'm the weird one for like, because if you see, it's not even reviewed that well, The Life Aquatic.
Interesting.
But I really enjoyed it.
I've seen like footage of it, and it looks really interesting.
You should check it out. I also thought it was pretty funny. Like, for whatever reason, that's the one people are like, oh, that's the bad Wes Anderson. But I was like, I don't know. I like it more than these other ones you guys are sucking off. Like, yeah.
Well, look, I saw The French Dispatch, and it starts off reasonably strong, but then I felt personally it lost me completely. It didn't once grab me, but this is actually one of the rare films where, as it goes on, it just works less and less and less. if there was ever the definition of a film where you felt that it was up its own ass, this is it. There is an overabundance of in-your-face stylings, from text on the screen to transitions in aspect ratio to transitions in color and black and white, and there's flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks, and man, it just feels like, all right, man, look, you're really making me work to figure out what's even happening, and I don't care to in the least. It was I'm sorry, I was just terribly bored. I was so disengaged. I tuned it out completely, and I was just on my phone by the end of the movie. It was incredibly disappointing, and without question, one of the worst movies I've seen in the year. And I hate saying that because the craft in this is so great. The production design, the music, the acting, it's great, but it's like Wes Anderson just got in his own way.
And I blame all the enablers in Hollywood who he's been on this trajectory where he's just gone so far in on his style, and everyone just goes like, brilliant. And I think I haven't seen it yet, but I'll probably feel the same.
This film is just inaccessible to like most audiences, I feel. If you're I would even go so far to say this is inaccessible to anyone who's not a diehard Wes Anderson person.
Yeah. It seems like
I thought this was harder to get engaged with than the tragedy of Macbeth, and they were talking in another language to me.
Basically, yeah. I think for a while he's just been getting too much up his own ass in his own little like style. I don't know.
So that's what I saw this
definitely
week.
End up watching it. Okay, I only watched one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up my Letterboxd. You might. It's on. Guess what? It's on Hulu. It's also a 2021 film.
Oh.
It is called Titan.
Is it Titan or is it Titan?
I don't care.
I'm only asking because I've heard people refer to it as Titan, not Titan. But it spells like it's said Titan.
I'm an American. I say Titan. Following a series of unexplained crimes, a former firefighter is reunited with his son, who has been missing for 10 years. That is such a... Having seen the film, that is such a fucking hilarious description of the film. The closest because I don't want to... I don't think you would like this movie.
Oh, okay.
But I think it would be funny for you to watch it.
All right.
The closest...
Like Scott Pilgrim was funny for me to see, I guess?
Funnier. The only way I can describe it and not give it away is it reminds me of like an A24 unbelievably fucked up version of WandaVision.
Okay.
Wow. It's a weird one, man.
Is it like on the level of it? Not that I've seen this one, but a lot of people were very weirded out by Sorry to Bother You a few years ago. With Lakeith Stanfield.
No, I've seen Sorry to Bother You. I'm trying to think. No. Like Sorry to Bother You does have a crazy fucking twist, third act twist, but for the most part, it's just really stylized.
Oh, okay.
This is, it's something. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's pretty fucked up. I don't want to give it away, but I really enjoyed it. Titane.
All right. Well, I'll take that under advisement. Let's see how that goes. Let's go ahead and get into some of these reviews. I'm not sure if we'll get to all of them. I'll be honest with you, but we'll see how far we get. Let's go ahead and start off with the one that will take the least amount of time, and that will obviously be. And I hate to say this, but it'll take the least amount of time because it was obviously great and everything. But here we are with the season 1 finale of Peacemaker. By the way, Peacemaker.
I thought you were gonna say Star Wars because I have like nothing left to say about that fucking bullshit.
Well, you'd be surprised. Okay. It doesn't matter. Look, Peacemaker was renewed for season 2. Yay! Yes, yes. Give it all to me. James Gunn would come back to direct and write all the episodes. It's just great because I love this series and I'm just happy that the success that it's found. Because honestly, look, I wasn't expecting too much out of the show to begin with, and I really wasn't hopeful about its prospects post its inaugural season because of how I just didn't think people would care. But I'm so happy to have been proven wrong at every step because the quality and the success as far as viewership is concerned and like trending and everything has been off the charts. It's easily, at least for me, I guess Euphoria, but Euphoria is more of an HBO original series.
Yeah,
it's
not HBO Max. It's HBO original.
Peacemaker is the biggest original program that I feel like HBO Max has had. And look, best superhero show probably ever. The best writing on TV right now. And honestly, if we're being real here, this show it kind of reminds me of, what's it called? Some of the best shows that I've seen don't have a lot to work with. And I think this show didn't have a lot to work with in terms of budget like it does a lot of the other shows on streaming these days. But it definitely, you really couldn't tell because that really wasn't an issue at all in this series because the writing is so good and the effects really, there was not a single effect in this series that I thought was bad. So as far as, and it's not a VFX heavy show to begin with.
No, but when it is there, it's really good.
Right.
Like I think it's better than most big blockbuster movies. Like I keep saying Eagly, amazing. Yeah.
Eagly is great. Yeah. But even also because of the acting. And look, this is why I keep saying that James Gunn really has this down to a science that nobody else can figure out. And that is the configuration of a team unit. And again, as I suspected, we are at the end. And I love all of these people. Christopher Smith, as the Peacemaker. Now I see him as Chris. Harcourt, Adebayo, Vigilante, Economos. They're just... And I don't know how it is, but it just seems like Gunn gets better and better everything he does, the very next thing that he does, right? And there are a lot of things to have been impressed with in this episode, whether it be the direction of the action itself, the level of suspense that you felt with, like, oh no, is this person getting off? The surprises that come in out of nowhere, the wonderful twist that we have here with the villains. There are so many ways you can praise this show, right? But I think what my main takeaway is, I'm just blown away with how quickly John Cena has been able to grow as an actor.
Yes. A personal friend.
Yes, your personal friend, John Cena. I'm just wowed by him. Like he went. This is his best performance.
He's fantastic. Oh my god, I love him. And did you see? Not to get off track, that he's gonna be in that WB film. What is it? Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, where he sues. Wile E. Coyote sues Acme, and he's like the head CEO of Acme.
Yes,
that sounds fucking brilliant.
It does.
That sounds so fucking funny. And but you know what it also tells me is WB Warner
wants him.
They're invested in him, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, like we're gonna. You're our guy now. We're gonna find some movies for you.
Remember, WB in a lot of ways still works a little old school, like how the movie studio system used to be, where they kept you under contract.
It's kind of going back to that, unfortunately.
It is. Remember, Nolan recently was with them until he said "fuck you" for the worst reasons imaginable.
They gave him everything, and he still said "fuck you."
They released his movie during a pandemic with no vaccines, and he was like, "Well, fuck you. You put it on HBO Max, even though you didn't. They didn't put your movie on HBO Max at all."
That's so crazy to me. His films were never fucked with. Other people's films were fucked with, and they just got over it. They got paid and got over it. But he's the one that's like, "I am an artist. I must not to be around it." Yeah, fuck you. Whatever. But no, he's so great, and you can tell his career's on the up and up. And what's so cool is with this show at the beginning, I don't like when it first premiered. I think it did got some pretty darn good viewership, but it wasn't like the cultural zeitgeist wasn't like who's watching Peacemaker, right?
Right.
But what I like about the finale is it has a killer cameo.
Yeah. An actual cameo, not an extended supporting role.
Yes. And because of that, those killer cameos, it's gonna get the attention of people, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, maybe I should check out that Peacemaker." And I think it'll only get it more popular.
But you see how that shit works every time you throw in a cameo in that people can. That's why I keep saying, like, I oh my god, I almost imploded. I keep saying that a lot, but like the whole time I'm thinking, when I saw, look, spoilers, right? So the Justice League are right at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Only I think Momoa and Miller are the only ones that actually we see their face, but they're there. And the whole time I'm thinking when the Peacemaker team walks past them, it's like, see, if they did that for agents just one time, we wouldn't be having this fucking discussion all of these years later. And they very well could have, and they chose not to at every turn.
They had Samuel motherfucking Jackson.
They did
multiple times. They threw them some darn good bones, I think.
Yes, but it still isn't enough. For a lot of people.
It was not. So yeah, but just like talking to the future success of the show,
right?
I think that'll go a long way in getting people like, I should watch it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I heard they cameo at the end of the episode. Well, let me go back, see the whole thing, look at the cameo, and then I think that'll like really pump up its popularity. And by the time you get to season 2, it's gonna be a lot bigger, right? And I think that's so like a lot of people said this, and to a certain extent I agree, where it's like you see the Suicide Squad and it's fucking great. Not a lot of people saw it, but the people that saw it are like, wow, this is really great.
Yeah.
But the while John Cena is great as Peacemaker in the movie,
right,
you don't leave the movie going like, man, I want to see more of him. You're like, he was great in the movie, but he's kind of a piece of shit. Like, I don't want to be around him.
Right. That's why I said at the beginning, like, why would I want to watch a Peacemaker show? I hate that bitch.
Yeah. To me, it's like, well, believe in James Gunn, right? He hasn't let me down since. Right. And you know what? That motherfucker did not. Yeah. Because you really come around to just loving all the characters in this show. There's still massive pieces of shit.
Right.
But there are pieces of shit.
But then also, like, yes, they're massive pieces of shit, but they're also just kind of delightful in their own way. But that's something that, as you say a lot of the times, is kind of an anomaly. We're not allowed to have multi-dimensional or like very complicated heroes, right? In our superhero stories. We do here.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like even like we talked about, well, of course we're talking about the last episode. It's not a kill the bad guy, save the day, yay type thing. Like it's, there's layers to what happened, right? And the final decision was really sort of a challenge to the hero, because the hero he always talks about his very strict code of keeping the peace. Yeah. Doesn't really matter how you do it, just as long as you keep it. And whether, you agree with it or not, his decision at the end was about his character sort of breaking that code officially. And it's like, I'm doing something not to keep the peace, but because I care about the people around me and I want to keep them safe, right? And it's like, that's something he's never done before, kind of. And it's sort of breaking down his character in that way. And I'm really excited to see where a season 2 would go, because while there isn't any like big cliffhanger plot or plot wise, like, I don't know, like there's nothing specifically set up for a season 2. Right. There's a lot of character stuff set up, right? Sure. So like, again, he just broke his official code. He's hallucinating his dad a lot, and I was like, of course they're gonna keep the actor around. They're gonna do it that way, where he's really broken psychologically right now. It's not like he's in a great place as you leave the show. You could argue that he's become a slightly better person over the course of the show, but he's not mentally in a good place. No, and that's ripe for exploration in a season 2. So yeah, I'm all for it.
it's also the presentation of a great moral dilemma. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just that the characters themselves make a decision, but they also they also discuss about the decision they made, Adebayo and Chris at the end of it. But it's also a moral dilemma for us, the audience. That Goff, that butterfly bitch, he had me, or it, or they. I
You
don't
would
know
have
how,
betrayed the world, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
It's a
she had me. Look, I bought a hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
I really would have, but it's like, it's just that it speaks to my mental state at the moment that that's the lengths to where I would have gone to.
You're a judo master.
Yeah. It was just like, and I was interested to see what that would, the possibilities of what would look like if they were to go forward with that. But of course, that's not what happened. And it's just like, but I was happy to see that the characters themselves were also lingering with that choice as well. It's like, we completed the mission, but we're not entirely sure if we just like doomed humanity at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's kind of a melancholic ending.
Sure.
And why not? That's great. This is, I mean, I'm blown away each week, but they really stuck the landing here. The action is so good.
It is, man. It's like, so fucking good. There was this last week in last week's episode number 7, which is an amazing episode in its own right, where I was so floored by it. It's when Judo Master breaks in and is like going to town on Hardcourt and Adebayo, and there's this one shot where like I think he like kicks Adebayo and she like hits a counter and then the floor, and then she's just like down. It's like, and I felt that like, ooh, that was bad. Like that looked bad and that hurt. Yeah. It's that good. And look, in this finale too, I love how they all got moments. It's particularly Hardcourt. Like there was this one lingering shot, and if you think about it, it's almost kind of the same way that Boba Fett framed the Cad Bane shot. When they're both like lying on the floor, bleeding out and everything, and I was like, no, I was actually kind of sad. Like I thought, like, oh no, did she just die? I love that character.
James Gunn is really good at like, you don't realize how much you actually like the characters until he puts them in danger, and you're like, why do I care so much? And then you're like, oh my god, actually I really care about these characters. Right. He's really
like
good
when
at
Economos, when he was sent out with that to deliver that package, I was like, oh no.
And he gives that,
are we gonna lose him?
Emotional thing about like
why he dyes his beard and everything.
Yeah. But that's great too. There's so many like little one-off sayings and gags that come full circle.
Right. It proves that it's not just a joke. There's a story purpose to it there.
There's one thing that, and honestly, it was probably budget. Like if this was a movie, this would have been the ending, and I'm a little disappointed. Is I really thought that cow was gonna sprout wings. And it was gonna fly, and I thought we were gonna get Peacemaker on a jetpack, trying to kill it. And I thought it was gonna be a callback to the joke, that Mothra joke, in the first episode, where he's like, "Why I want a jetpack," and we're fighting Mothras.
Oh, okay.
I really thought that's what they were gonna do, and they did. And I think the only reason they didn't do that is because of budget.
I wonder if they bring Judo Master back in season 2.
You know what? I guarantee you they will. I can see him becoming, I don't know if I would say part of the team, but like just he's around, like he's part of. And then what's also cool is I assume it'll be an entirely new threat.
I also wonder like how they operate as a team, because aren't like they declaring war on Amanda Waller? At least her daughter is.
You know what? I think that was like the one thing that's gonna lead into season 2, like plot point wise.
Okay.
I think
it has to. Yeah.
Yeah. Why else would that be there? I guess character growth, but still, I think that it's gonna something's gonna happen season 2 that's gonna force them back together. All of that.
By the way, kudos to Viola Davis and Momoa and Miller for showing up to this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love how they're game. I know, to me, what's his name who plays the Flash? Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller.
He's crazy, kind of like Kanye. Like I think he has that same kind of crazy in him.
How dare you disrespect Ezra? I don't care. I don't
Whoa,
care
whoa, whoa,
one
you didn't let
iota
me
for
finish.
Ezra Miller, but Kanye West is a piece of shit asshole.
Well,
he is.
Let me finish. He has the same kind of crazy, but he's a much cooler person.
Thank you for finishing that.
Okay,
sentence.
because like Kanye, like he's insane. Like he just starts. We've all seen it. It's been so entertaining. But he's
his social media is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny. But he needs help. And Ezra Miller is kind of the same way, where he's literally like he literally told the KKK to go fucking kill themselves, and he's like, kill yourselves or I will kill you. And what's funny is it was a specific chapter of the KKK. So it's like, wait a minute, is there like some previous beef? Is there like a backstory here that we don't know about you and the KKK? And like he's kind of a crazy person too, in that way. But he's so much cooler, and this is why I'm looking forward. Well, I don't know if I'm looking forward, but I'm really hoping that the Flash movie is good and it's a hit, because he is so fucking game when it comes to the Flash. He has made like 1 million Flash cameos, and he hasn't even gotten a movie yet. Yeah.
Oh,
that's part of the. I think there's 4 DC movies coming out. It's the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the Flash.
Aquaman.
That one I am excited for, yeah.
Aquaman and Black Adam.
Okay.
Yeah. So those 4. Which I don't know if you saw the like 1 minute DC thing. There's some cool stuff in Black Adam. I'm actually really excited about that one now. I still want a full trailer. Shazam, you know what's funny? Shazam 2, from what I've heard, is like basically finished. Like
what's going on?
They could release it this year if they wanted. I actually think for the first time it's just they're releasing too many movies. They're releasing
never stopped Disney.
Yeah, they're releasing well, I guess that's true. But they were releasing 4
movies this year.
DC
that's a lot.
Movies this year. Like,
I don't think they've even done 3 in a year.
And that doesn't count like the animated shit, because they're having that like Super Pets movie.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I think, but if they wanted to, they could release Shazam. I think it's basically done, and it's good to go. But you know, like if I'm gonna be real, all of those movies, the Batman, the Flash, Aquaman, Black Adam, and then Shazam 2. I am for every single one of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I am either intrigued to super duper excited, right? Which is pretty good, I think. It is. To good. That's why I've been saying like I'm really been feeling the DCEU recently, because all those films I'll
agree with you in terms of overall direction. I'm feeling the DCEU more. I mean,
as a universe, it kind of doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter as a universe. I'm not talking about the individual films. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to the Batman. I know I'm gonna love it. But I'm not excited for whatever reason. But I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Aquaman and Shazam 2. I haven't seen anything about Black Adam. We'll see when it comes to that. And as far as like the Flash is concerned, I have reservations about what that's going to be, but we'll see, right, how it is ultimately. However, with Marvel, what do we have this year? I don't care about Doctor Strange. I don't care about Black Panther.
Oh, I don't care about Black Panther.
I guess the only ones, it's just Thor: Love and Thunder for me then, right? That's the one.
That's the one I'm really excited. Wait, how many movies, Marvel films this year?
Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther 2, and Doctor Strange 2, and the Marvels, or did that get pushed back into next year?
Okay.
I may be missing one.
Mm-hmm.
Or Quantum Mania. I don't even know, honestly, which one it is.
Out of all of those, the only one where I'm like, fuck yeah, is Love and Thunder.
That's it, and that's because of Taika Waititi, and that's it. Yeah.
And I'm intrigued with Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
but everything else is like, I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I think that's where we are. But with Peacemaker, it was perfect, man. I don't have anything bad to say about the show.
It was so, and you know what's great? Because you're a big fan of TV, as everyone knows.
Love it, yeah. It is. Look, there are so many great ways you can compliment the show. But I feel like, for me, one of the biggest compliment you can give any TV show ever is its rewatchability factor. And every episode of this show, what, did I steal it?
No. You didn't steal it, but I think you're like right on the money. Because to me, this is a perfect TV show.
Yeah.
It released week to week. Every episode felt full, right? Like the entertainment value, like from minute to minute, great, right? Like the when I was done with an episode, I didn't feel like like not much happened this week. Like I just want to see the next one, right? Because that happens so much with TV, where it just feels like there's filler, or it's not filler. It's just not much going on, and it's like it's sloppy. It's this, it's that. It all built to. It was all one story. It all built to one conclusion, but it also didn't feel like an 8-hour movie.
That's true.
Yeah. So it was like perfect, right? Like perfect amount of episodes. Each episode felt like an episode, like it was telling its own mini story within a much larger story. But it also, like I said, it was one story. It's, to me, it's like peak television as far as how it was put together, right? Like this is what I want when I'm thinking of TV. Yeah.
Everything you said and more. Couldn't agree with it you more. And if you haven't seen Peacemaker, Kyle, go and see it.
You know what? Oh my
HBO
God,
Max.
you should message him right now. Be like, Kyle, what the fuck? Like, all the episodes are there. Remember, he's like, I'm not a week to week man. Hey, you no longer have that excuse. Oh my God, he's actually doing it. Yeah, no, like, ridiculous bullshit that he was like, I can't watch it week to week. And you know what? Like I said, usually I'm one of those guys where I'm like, I gotta watch it week to week. I don't like to watch it week to week. Here, it worked, right? Like I never left the episode feeling unsatisfied and like, fuck, like I just want to watch the next one. I was interested and wanted to watch the next one, but I felt satisfied enough to wait a week. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to see if we can finish the show with what we have left to do, okay? So that was Peacemaker. Book of Boba Fett, real quick. I thought the finale was great as a comedy. I was laughing my ass off, honestly, several times. Look, but obviously that's not what they were going for. We've talked ad nauseum about this. That finale was, I think, for me, one of the single most embarrassing hours in all of Star Wars. It was just pathetic and aimless, useless, incompetent, sad. All those words I think appropriately fit with what we saw here. And if there's any big takeaway is they've royally screwed over the character of Boba Fett. Nobody here was given anything to do. This is only here to set up Mandalorian season 3. As you said, people will get whiplash if they didn't see this show. Also, Cad Bane was here to die, and I don't know how you waste a character like that. There you go.
They fucked Boba Fett's character because they stole his character and gave it to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So they had... that's why people love the Mandalorian more than Boba Fett now, because he has Boba Fett's personality, which was just, always has the helmet on, man of few words, see good in a fight, whatever. This whole show was fucking lame.
Yeah.
It's also just weird pacing and like, I know we've already talked about this, but like 4 really slow specific episodes and then 2 episodes that have nothing to do with Boba Fett. And then what's so crazy is the show ends on the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda like
They're
flying
the last
off.
Scene in the whole
Yeah. Like, when did this become their show? I mean, I know when it became their show, episode 5, but still, like, it's so fucking weird. And it's crazy because the last thing you see of Boba Fett in Fennec is them going like, yeah, we're not that good at this. Um, and it's like, bitch, I could have told you that episode 2. Yeah, everything, again, it's so funny that these two shows were like side by side, but I'm really glad that they were, because they just illuminate that I am not crazy.
Right.
Because everything that I want out of like this kind of television, and really this kind of like franchise, sci-fi
Spin-off,
fantasy,
right.
TV shows and filmmaking is done so well in Peacemaker. And like everything I want out of this stuff, boom, is there in Peacemaker. And everything I've grown to kind of despise about this stuff, boom, is there in the Book of Boba Fett. So it's a really good sort of like night and day view side by side.
It really is. Like you couldn't get any farther apart than that.
If anything, that's the best thing about the show, is that it provides clarity for what's working right now and what's not working.
And hopefully it is opening a lot of eyes, although it's still, I don't think, going to cut through the people who would say that this was bad, Book of Boba Fett, but would say The Mandalorian was great.
Well, it's not, because those same people swear that episode like 5 and 6 were the greatest things ever made of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is fucking insane. But yeah, there's Book of Boba Fett. There you go. Not great.
Yeah, there it is. Let's get into Pig. This is the movie on Hulu. Yeah.
Hold on.
Peter is
Here we go.
going to get
directed
his
by
letterbox.
Mikhail Sarnowski. We don't get a lot of things to really care about. A truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregonian wilderness must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. Nicolas Cage, Alex Wolff, Adam Arkin, Nina Belfort, Gretchen Corbett, blah yada yada. Director Michael Sarnowski.
His directorial debut.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I can go first this time.
Go ahead.
Okay. When this trailer first dropped for Pig, what's funny is it was advertised as almost like a John Wick type film, where it was like Nicolas Cage, they came and took his pig, and now
that's how this movie starts off.
Yes, right. Like it starts off as like, is this gonna be a bare knuckled, like violent sort of John Wick knockoff?
Or nobody, right?
Or nobody, and it turns out to just be this unbelievably well acted and emotionally moving just film about despair.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. It despite it again being sort of a slow moving film, it hooked me very early on, and I was with it the whole way. There's some really great scenes and great performances, and it has this beating heart to it that I think it's very easy to emotionally connect with. And yeah, it ended up it went from like John Wick knockoff to like, I don't know, just something else completely, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. Yeah.
This movie was such a wonderful surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really does kind of take you off guard, because the way it starts off, which by the way, it starts off great because the movie looks beautiful. You have, it starts off quietly though. It's very reserved, relatively for most of it, but then for the beginning, it's like almost kind of quiet. But once the plot or the plot mechanics get going, it very much feels in the vein of, John Wick and Nobody. But as the film like unfolds itself, you begin to realize that this movie really is not interested in being a carbon copy of something else. It is far more interested in really kind of like facilitating a wonderful, discussion on life and your work and your own worth, and as you said, and dread and everything. It's a
guy that's just disgusted in the world,
And hey, relatable, right? Because you and I are both very much disgusted with life. And that part of that, I connected to him on that level, but we're not disgusted to the point where we cut off completely like he did, because we have here with Nicolas Cage's main character. Can you look at the page real quick on Letterboxd? What was the character's name?
Yeah, let me see.
So Nicolas Cage, Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Robin. So he's living in the woods.
Everyone called him Rob, I think.
Right.
Like, call me Rob.
He's living in the middle of nowhere with this pig, and this pig is the only emotional connection he has left. He has long since abandoned society because he was so disgusted by it. And it just so happens to be, as the film, unfolds, that he was a member of high society, basically, in the Oregon metropolitan area, as this big chef with this, this restaurant that people loved. And he made the choice to cut himself off from that and go away. And the only reason he comes back into the city is to look for his pig that was viciously, I might add, kidnapped by two idiots, and it got into the possession of somebody else. And so this entire film, we follow him along with Alex Wolff, who has a relationship with him in terms of he's like Nicolas Cage plays Alex Wolff's supplier.
Yeah, he's a truffle hunter, and he supplies him with the truffles, which he then sells them to the local restaurants.
You're right. And so as we see their journey into the city, and then we go from person to person to get some clues as to where this pig went, you begin to, as you say, peel back the onion layers, as we say, and we kind of find out who this person is or what he was and what it really is all about. And I look, this film asks a lot of wonderful questions, right? And it also gives a great just showcase for the particular point of view, and I feel it does say the point of view of Robin, which is this over obsession with, I guess, materialism on one level, but then also in one key moment in the film, in a restaurant.
Oh my God. Favorite moment in the film.
Yeah. Favorite moment in the film, maybe favorite moment in any film last year. Where it kind of it becomes like a meta commentary on society and what it values and what it doesn't, and even more than that, right? There's a lot of things that are striking about the film. I would say I would start off with the performance by Nicolas Cage. He's doing something here that he, quite frankly, doesn't do anymore or hasn't done in a long time. These days, Nicolas Cage, and to be fair with you, I haven't seen most of his stuff most of his new stuff. I know lately he's been doing a lot of indie stuff here, and he's known for a very over-the-top caricature. That's kind of what he's become known these last couple of decades. This is a very reserved performance from him, but at the same time, perhaps the most powerful. There is a quiet power to the way he delivers his lines here, and it's all very much the spirit of this Robin character. That restaurant scene that you mentioned, the things that he says are some of the most thought-provoking shit I have seen in a long-ass time, honestly. And I don't know where that came from, and I'm really curious to see where this Sarnowski guy goes next. This is his first fucking movie, and he said a lot of stuff here. And I think really, with exchanges that he has here with these characters that have in that restaurant scene, and really throughout the whole film, this is my kind of movie. This is what cinema is, really, at the end of the
day. Would Martin Scorsese consider it cinema?
I think he would. I really, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite of the year. I bought it on Blu-ray.
Wow, yeah, that's the endorsement, right?
That's the endorsement. Yeah,
that's the stamp of approval. No, it's really good, and that scene specifically in the restaurant, more so even than the lines or the script or whatever said, is I think the acting, from everyone at that table, just sells it so good. Right. Yeah, it really is sort of like a sad film, but it's not. I don't think the message itself is negative.
No, I
guess
think so.
if that makes sense, right?
It's the weirdest thing. I wasn't left feeling cold.
No. By the end, I wouldn't say it's uplifting, but it's hopeful.
It is weirdly.
in a sense, it's about getting through a lot of this negative feelings. Because, like, for him, it's like he had everything. And then when he lost the only thing that was actually important, he realized how all this stuff that supposedly mattered, like, just turned to ash in his mouth, right? And it's like, this is, and it disgusts him. Like, this just doesn't matter. But the whole world is telling you that it does, right? And I'm sitting here telling you the thing that I lost that actually mattered is gone. And so yeah, it really is this sort of movie about despair and just sort of wallowing in it.
I love to see Alex Wolff. His reactions, like,
oh yeah,
really captured the moment.
Movie.
It really is, because like he's having these. He's just like, he asks Robin this question, and then he goes off into this like diatribe, and we cut to him, and he's just like blown away with like
there were quite a bit of funny moments throughout the movies.
Alex Wolff was really good here too.
Yeah,
honestly,
I like him.
Yeah,
he's I'm sure you'll see him pop up in more stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I think he was one of my favorite supporting performances of the year. That's for sure. But it's like the presence that Nick Cage has in this film is just like, it's massive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this is classic Nick Cage. And when I mean like back in the getting nominated for Oscars days, like
which I'm gonna say it, he should have been nominated this year.
It was good. Yeah, I can see it, especially up against some other performances that got in. Yeah, for sure. He was so good, and he still got it. What I love about him, he's like the anti Bruce Willis. Cause
yeah. By the way, did you see that Bruce Willis got his own category this year at the Razzies?
I love it. That's so. It's you know what? It's so deserved. Because Bruce Willis does not care anymore.
I heard in one of the recent films that Bruce Willis did, he didn't bother to remember his lines, and he had an earpiece where somebody was feeding lines.
Yeah. And
wow,
he just, when it's come to acting, like, he's just given up. Like, as little effort as humanly possible he can put in, he'll do it. But because of that, he's doing all of these really shitty, low budget, like, straight to DVD type movies.
Or now straight to streaming movies.
Straight to streaming movies. And just no effort, none. Whereas Nicolas Cage is doing a lot of small movies. Some of them are shit, while others are like these fucking awesome gems that you're happy exist. But whether it's shit or awesome, he's giving 110%, right? In all of it, right? So either he's in this really well done indie film, or he's in like some shit C-level slasher. He's given the A+, what do you call it, Nicolas Cage performance in either one. So I'm loving where his career's at right now, because he's doing everything and anything, but I still feel like everything he chooses is at least interesting. And he's giving
interesting to him.
Yeah, interesting to him.
And in recent interviews, he's not interested in studio films anymore.
No.
He's just not doing that.
He's just making the things that are interesting to him.
Yeah.
And if you look at his recent resume, yeah, like I'll watch them. I'm like, yeah, I would like to see it. And that's why I've really loved a lot of his recent films. The next movie that's coming out, I think it's the closest to like a studio film he's made in a while, is what was it called? Like the something about like extremely talented, or he plays himself.
Oh, okay.
He plays Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage, and he is basically because similar to real life, he's in sort of money issues. So a very rich fan pays to hang out with him, and he's like, okay, Nicolas Cage, and the fan is played by Pedro Pascal.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a quasi comedy type thing, but like that's the closest to like a quote unquote bigger studio film that I've seen him make in a while, and even that, again, it's only insane enough that Nicolas Cage would do it. So yeah, I'm really loving everything with him recently.
No, I just love the look of this movie. The makeup on Nick Cage, the music, and also just the genuine emotion here. Really, there's this moment toward the end of the film where there's a big, like, he realizes what happens to his pig, and just like what happens, just wow.
Yeah, so good. He's still got it.
Yeah, I love this film. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to hear you liked it too. And I hope, I have to assume Ms. Moreno, who is a big Nick Cage fan, will see this at some point. She loves Nicolas Cage, from what I recall. Although, for whatever reason, she can't get her Hulu to work. That's
so weird, because Hulu, I feel, is so consistently
I've never had a problem with Hulu. And there's so much, I feel like we've been talking about Hulu this entire podcast. There's so much stuff to watch Hulu on there.
Episode.
The documentary Flea, Spencer, now Pig. There's so much stuff on there. Summer of Soul. Go watch these movies, people, please. Look, I mean, we've been talking a lot of the smaller movies for these last couple of weeks on the show, frankly, because there haven't been any big films, but also we want to take time to dedicate to these smaller films as well, and they're great. Yeah. They really are. I love this movie. There ain't much more to say, and I kind of don't want to. I love the ending, by the way, of the film.
Oh, it's perfect.
Wow.
Perfect wraparound. Yeah, perfect ending for it.
Yeah. That's so good. So fucking good. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for listening once again to Red Spotlight. Remember to stay here under our spotlight for more content. If there are movies coming out, we're going to be back to talk about all of it and more. Thank you, Peter. Thank you guys for listening. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.